Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to CR6. This is the round of 16. Starting off here in game number 1, it's going to be Purdue, the 2nd seed, versus KSU, the 15th seed. In the production booth, it's going to be Jay Wills joining me today. My friend, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Chief. I am so glad to be here alongside you tonight. This is going to be an unbelievably amazing matchup. I know it already. Purdue, the 2nd seed, as you said, they have looked unstoppable in every single siege match they've played across every collegiate league these last few weeks. In the Collegiate Championship on Face It, in CEA and CR6, these guys are the team to beat. But KSU, they're not going to go down that easy. They're here to prove that they are more than just a 15 seed, that they have what it takes to beat a team like Purdue. It's going to be quite a task. They definitely have their work cut out for them, but I've seen them play amazing before, and we are going to see tonight how they are able to fare in this round of 16. We'll take a quick look here at our map bands tonight. Our maps, I believe we will be seeing Club, Oregon, and our decider will be, what was the decider there, Chief?
Cafe will be our decider.
Cafe, let's go.
But
what a map.
We're going to be kicking things off on Oregon, the newest addition to competitive Rainbow Six Siege pool. It pays homage to its old rival, which was a staple of the competitive scene about 2 years ago before it got the big old boot and sent over to the rubbish bin temporarily, but is back and better than ever. And honestly, it's become kind of the staple of T3, joining in company with Cafe as well as Clubhouse. So we talk about the 3 same maps all the time in T3, and here in CollegiateR6, it's going to be exactly the same story. But it's going to be whatever team is able to create the best strategy that wastes time, because after all, it is Utility Consumption Simulator 2020.
You're absolutely right. And Oregon, of all maps especially, I love a good Oregon because it's just so back and forth. It's not favoring one side or the other too heavily. And it's so incredible to see teams just bring out some amazing strats and just go head to head and just an absolute slugfest. I casted a match last night, and it was exactly that. We took it into round 15 on Oregon, and it was incredible, to say the least. And I know these teams have played on Oregon quite a few times, as well as Clubhouse and Cafe, like you said, the 3 staple maps of this meta, and cannot wait to see what they're going to bring to the table.
I couldn't agree more, especially with the new derivative holds downstairs in basement. We talk about time and time again of the J Bunker extension fitting into Utility Consumption Simulator. But over the past few weeks, we've actually seen teams get even more creative with it. Instead of playing 1 shield in J Bunker, they're actually incorporating 2 or 3 shields, either in blue tarps or in E-Box. You couple that with a Melusi over in barrels, actually running outside, placing the Melusi, and relying on the Wub Wub Disco Party to get aggressive. Stand up from your shield and actually actively challenge. And that is kind of how the entire Utility Consumption Simulator has been epitomized in 1 basement hold, but you can also do that upstairs and attic, playing off deployable shields with those ADSs. Well, my pancakes, the world is your oyster. But ladies and gentlemen, all 10 players have confirmed their check marks, so let's dive straight into round 16 here in game number 1, doing battle on Oregon.
Let's get into this one, guys. I mean, like you were talking about, I love the Oregon basement play as well as the dorms play. You see so many different strategies when it comes out to how teams want to defend attic. You know, are they going to devote, almost all of their utility to their putting wub-wubs, putting my magnets, maybe some ADSs, some smoke canisters, what have you in there. But we also have seen some teams, across the different regions of Siege, adapt some different strategies when it comes to playing Closet. Some teams have even been so bold as to open Closet rotates and to play like Lock Off Master. It's not something I expect to see here tonight as we get into this, but you can never count these teams out. I know they're going to want to come with some pretty ridiculous strategies to catch one another off guard. KSU here definitely has, as I said, their work cut out for them. So no doubt they've been studying the VODs. They've been looking at Purdue's strategy and what they can do to overcome this one.
Well, the bane of Rainbow Six Siege, Thatcher, is instantaneously removed on Oregon. Now, we've seen some unique bans rolling on through. Monty, he can fit in the meta, pushing away Utility Consumption Simulator. But the problem with that ban is he's been nerfed severely recently. And now with shield guard, he can basically have his arm ripped away from him. His shield exposes his body, and he's less oppressive as he used to be. Now, a lot of teams, especially in T2 and T1, have actually started to ban Ashe on this map because she's the best operator in utility consumption simulator, but she is going to be a factor here in this map as the pseudo Echo is going to be relegated over to the ban bin as it's going to be Valkyrie removed.
And I expect to see the Mira ban here. And yep, there it is, the Mira to round us out. As you know, Mira's so powerful when putting those windows up, either facing tarps and elbow or facing maybe laundry stairs or maybe freezer. Possibly even you can put one facing the tower stairs if you get a late push coming into pillar or something like that. So she is so powerful, and that is why it is no surprise to see her taken off the table here. And like you said, we didn't see the Ashe ban, so Mila immediately going to pick the Ashe, and we're going to see a Zofia as well. These operators, just the beasts of this utility consumption simulator like you were talking about, and cannot wait to see exactly what they're going to pull off here.
Now, some people scratch their heads when they hear, why on earth would you ban Ashe? But if you think about it from a macro perspective, she's the only operator that has 5 devices that can destroy things at range, 3 flashbangs, and 2 breaching charges. Her compadre in crime, Zofia, technically only has 4. The only operator that had more was Capital, but now that he's been nerfed, removing his flashbangs to the pocket hard breach, she is now the end-all be-all operator when it comes to utility consumption simulator. But she's going to be a factor, and that's going to allow the attacking teams to be just that much stronger when they're going for their basement executes. And lo and behold, we're going to be starting over here in basement, and so far it looks like it's going to be 3 or 4 deployable shields in factor for KSU.
Absolutely here, and if we could pop up that utility and take a look exactly what we're seeing, but definitely we're going to see 2 shields from that Goya, 1 from the smoke and 1 from the Wamai, and they're going to try to secure elbow as much as they can. It looks like that's what we're going with. We actually have our 2 defenders upstairs doing their best to get those hatches and get maybe a bit of roam here from that bandit. And I always love seeing what different teams bring here in terms of roam game, because sometimes you can get a good late rotate, maybe surprise some players who push down into freezer, a good laundry hatch surprise, but you really could do it either way. Often we also see all 5 playing on site, and so that really, it varies so much here. The Jaeger going to get very aggressive already here. That is Smack looking out towards construction, but I don't believe the challenge is going to come out early, as it appears that most of the attackers are going to work their way in from the main entrance side, and I don't believe we're going to see an all-out construction push early on like some teams elect to do.
And as you're highlighting, a lot of teams are very comfortable doing a straight barrels execute, but it's going to be a change up for the attacking team of Purdue, as they're going to be entering through garage and actually clearing the entire map before they even begin on their basement executes. We're talking about playing homage to the original map, and this is exactly how a lot of teams were attacking back in the day. You have to have meeting control before you go on to pouncing onto the basement bomb site, and while there are still a few members roaming near meeting room, that is going to be Jaeger relegated to that task as he's over in kitchen, but there are flank drones pre-set up, and he will be caught up back on his rotate eventually.
As well as Goose Smitty here playing with those air jabs with the Nomad, will be able to block those rotates out, as Mila here will pick up the kill onto Smack. He was absolutely pinched, completely cut down out of position, and he couldn't do much about that one. A brilliant roam clear early on from Purdue, and with 1:30 remaining, they've made some good progress here, but they're going to have to start getting a bit more aggressive onto site. We see Mango taking up a position here in freezer, shooting some drones as they come down to suss him out, and the drone utility looking strong for Purdue right now. Mila going to push down the stairs and down. That would be Stakes, I believe, who's in laundry. Brilliant push from Mila there, but he will actually get revived. So brilliant awareness from McCool to bring him back up here. But it appears attackers now going to work their way down into freezer and force Mango out, and he will rotate back into safety. But, down a man and down the HP, if Purdue is able to get a good push here, I could see this be working very well. We are going to see them open up freezer and get those lines of sight onto supply room.
It's a deep breath before the plunge onto the basement. The defenders of KSU are going to try to play Father Time as best as they can, but Purdue has already orchestrated their attack. They have set up like a boa constrictor, and they're about to asphyxiate everybody on the receiving end. The scoreboard is going to light up for both teams, but Purdue is going to maintain that man advantage just slightly as that clock is going to continue to dwindle its way on down. Mila is going to go fishing for the head of one, but slowly Mick Cool will not present himself one bit. He's going to attempt to waste even more time, sending 2 toxic babes down range. Shots continue to go for the exchange, but no answer back for the bomb that's slowly going on the deck as we move over to a post plant with 42 seconds guaranteed in the round. A 1v4 is almost an impossible scenario for KSU. Looking the wrong way, Mango is going to be shut on down and removed.
What a push from Purdue in those closing seconds. We saw them get that information that they needed and absolutely hammer down onto site with 15 seconds left. And we talk about the 15-second meta as well. That term has been popularized just because we see so many teams waiting until the absolute last second to make their execute. But it didn't matter how long Purdue waited because it was such a decisive push onto site, and they just took out those defenders one after another. Just great work. Very mature siege we're seeing here from both teams, I've got to say. KSU, McCool playing in closet, using those toxic babes to delay as much as he could. But in the end, he would be felled by the great push coming down Laundry Stairs.
And we're going to be returning back over to the basement. I'm never a fan of going to the bomb site twice in a row, simply because the attackers have already seen your poker hand. They know exactly how and why they want to push these bomb sites. And the problem is, when you're running the exact same lineup, well, the attackers already know what to do. Now, if you're going to be doing some radical change, for example, if you're playing on Clubhouse, you do a very linear anchor strategy, and then you proceed to the SSG-style roam, that is totally fine. That is a good changeup, and that's an acceptable way of running a bomb site twice in a row. But the problem is when you're doing the exact same extensions and the exact same utility, that is a surefire sign to have the attackers just bulldoze you and knock you on down.
Absolutely, and I wonder if we are going to see the same push from Purdue. It was so effective. They did such a good job with that roam clear. Often you see collegiate teams struggle a little bit to, catch out all those cheeky little roamers hiding, upstairs or around in kitchen, but they had unbelievable good information gathering from them there. And in the end, it didn't really matter where the defenders were. They sussed them out and they took them out, and that is what allowed them to get that decisive push. And it looks like they're going to stick to their guns, stick to what they know, not going to put a single player pressuring into blue. And honestly, I love to see that, going a little bit against the meta right now and just trying to get for that top-down pressure, go for Freezer maybe, go for Laundry a little bit, and just kind of deny the defenders the satisfaction of walking into 2 deployable shields and all that utility, because we see so many teams putting all that utility onto the elbow side of things. It's great to see that Purdue have adapted, realized what they're dealing with, and are just not going to bother with it whatsoever.
And as you're highlighting, it's going to be a West Stairs execute. And actually, attacking rosters were doing this exact same execute when this map first rolled on out. And then they switched over to the J Bunker extension, the J Bunker execute, as a result of that. And that was working well for teams, but it's nice to see Purdue actually changing the pace of the round and trying to attack from a different way. This is going to force KSU to either move all their deployable shields or force them to be absolutely useless. And right now, KSU really isn't reading into the attack of Purdue at all. So hopefully they make that adaptation at some point during this round as we approach the halfway mark.
Yeah, and at the halfway mark, we see no picks. The defense clearly learning from their mistakes on that last one and putting all 5 on site. And it's going to be up to the Bandit here, who's left stranded in Laundry right now, and he'll have to contend with the aggressing Mila, as well as a bit of that crossfire that the attackers are looking to establish from Freezer. But Mango still holding that position, still has his deployable shields and supported by those ADSs and those Wamai Magnets, so he shouldn't have much of a problem holding this for a bit longer. The attackers still gathering up and figuring out where to push from here. We got the coming down Freezer stairs. It's Hangman going to be looking to find anyone through this rotate or these angles opened up in the Freezer wall, but for now, he will remain scoreless here. As we get into this one, 45 seconds remaining. The attackers going to have to make something happen here. Right now, everyone's still up from both teams, so this execute is going to be a spicy one. And there's the first pick. Providence will find McCool, dropping him down as the two of the attackers will now pivot and come down the laundry staircase here. Smack trying to pre-fire and find anybody, but the drone work there coming out from the attackers, and he will not find anyone. 20 seconds remaining. Mango taking a bit of damage, and Mila will be down over in laundry stairs. It Stakes prone, holding this angle. Will he find the headshot? Yes, and he will take down Providence as well as Poseidon will fall. Smack, Mango, and Smack again. They just collapse, decisively eliminate the remaining attackers. A brilliant hold from KSU there on display.
The blue tide of KSU is going to show the scoreboard and punish for Purdue for just being a little bit too slow on their execute and far too predictable. Now, we are talking about going to the same bomb site twice in the row, and that can hamper the defense, but it can also hamper the attackers if they do exactly the same thing they did in round number 1. And sadly for Purdue, they did the exact same execute, and it was KSU's turn to abuse that meta and actually start to break that on down. So right now we're seeing both these rosters really struggling to make the necessary adaptations, and it's always going to be the attacking team, which is always behind the meta, that's usually going to be losing in those engagements.
Attackers need to locate.
Absolutely, and after that successful defensive basement, we will see KSU moving up to the dorm site, often, the second most preferred site. Sometimes the first, we often see a switch between dorms and laundry, but KSU going upstairs now and going to do their best to hold off this game's plan. Generally, the attacking push here we see so commonly is they'll open closet, they'll open attic, get one player maybe up towards armory stairs, pressuring into trophy, and with those 3 angles, establish a brilliant crossfire onto games and use that to get a plant down. But the attackers, we see the bandit batteries are going to be in play. They're going to do their best to prevent that. He'll put those batteries down on closet wall and likely on attic as well. So with that Thatcher ban, we do see the Maverick played, so that will be a factor here. But I'd also expect to see someone like Hangman with that Zofia utility to come from below and possibly remove those bandit batteries from classroom, also a very common position. But one thing about dorms that is tough on defense is where do you put your roamers if you're going to have any? Because it's so tough to get a good roam, especially when the site is on the top floor, and late flanks are going to be hindered by very good flank watch from the attacking presence. So we will see a couple of defenders off-site for now. It will be the Malusi of Mango, and it will be Stakes on the Bandit hanging out in small tower and on the top of the freezer stairs right now. And their job right now, just to play time. They're not going to commit to their lives to this hold, this roam, but they will try to delay, because as a roamer, if you can delay time, shoot some drones out, then that is mission accomplished.
So far, Purdue is being very linear. A lot of attacking rosters elect to open up the north side of attic, utilizing that Maverick, and then rotate their primary heart breacher over to the south side and enter into games. But it looks like Purdue is not going to elect that strategy. Again, they're going to go with a very linear, pure game strategy. And the problem with that is it doesn't set up the necessary crossfires. It's only going to be a 90-degree crossfire compared to the 180-degree crossfire. And this is going to allow the defenders of KSU to sit very pretty in their power positions, but it's gonna be a full send YOLO dump of flashbangs trying to remove mute. The frag grenade's gonna bounce off the door sill. It's gonna find its target true. That's gonna be another entry for Purdue as they're one step closer to succeeding in round number 3.
Unbelievably well done there from the attack. Poseidon with a brilliant nade, and will find McCool out of his position there. But now Hangman going to challenge on the attic, free-firing the corner, cannot connect with Smack for now. But Smack now going to back up and be very aware that he is in a dangerous position. And now realizing the situation, the roamers going to have to adapt and come back to site here. Maybe try to find a C4 from below, but it's looking like they will be rotating. We have Bandit coming back up the white stairs. But the attackers still a bit held back here in Trophy, and haven't been able to find much traction other than the kill onto McCool. And but we do see closet wall is open, the crossfire has been established, and Hangman now has full control of attic, swinging the rotating the kids. Will not find one for now, but now they have full control, and I see a games plant coming anytime soon. Ace is going to come in with the diffuser, going for a plant potentially here, but we have a Mila coming up on the rotate, will remove Stakes on white stairs. Smoke's going out, the Toxic Babes to stop the plant, but they will not stop the plant, but they will delay the push from white. 2 defenders going down, and it's all up to Mango with 1 HP. He'll have to contend with 4 as Smack has been downed, but he's not removed yet. But there it is. The attackers will take it, and Purdue with a brilliant attack, and I believe the down actually came out from a C4 from below, so that is unfortunate for that little misplay there. But overall, we saw a brilliant push from Purdue, and that's what's going to give them that round win.
A blunder to conclude the round is something that you can never consistently rely on, but nonetheless, it's going to be Purdue succeeding in that round. And we were highlighting how linear that execute was, but sometimes linear executes can work very well if the defenders are playing far too passively and don't have a contingency plan to actively deal with that linear execute. We saw Smoke over at Attic. He was attempting to try to hold time, but the problem was he wasn't actively participating in that round. He was far too back. He ends up making that rotate down from that top hatch with 90 seconds to spare, but he didn't have much impact, as well as the two nitro cell wielding defenders. I believe it was Malusi and Bandit that were on the first floor. The majority of the second floor is completely soft, so if you have the appropriate amount of information, you land your nitro cell true, that can be an attacker blown sky high, but KSU never made those adjustments because, again, they're playing just too passively.
I believe Smack was actually the only person blown sky high, like you said, by the nitro cell. Timing not working out quite perfectly there on those C4s from below, but a good effort from them for sure. And I'm interested to see what they're going to change up this time. We still see two C4s in play, two deployable shields. So anything could really happen here. I'm interested to see if the roam will come out the same way. But honestly, I think that would have gone a lot better for the defense had those roamers rotated back to site a bit early, as those nitro cell kills obviously did not come out as they were so desperately seeking there. Mango appears to be playing a bit more aggressively, trying to hold up a position in Armory. But as I say that, he'll make me eat my words. He'll back up into site, play a bit more passively. Because on that basement defense that they were so successful in, I mean, they did nothing but sit on site and wait. They did. They played time. And at the end of the day, Purdue were unable to, gather all that information they needed to execute their push. And I think that's a lot why we're going to see this KSU defense go for that similar strategy. All five here, we see them on site.
Well, for the time being, it's going to be a very similar execute once again, but the Kaid charges will not be dealt with from vertical destruction of the attackers. Now, the defenders have their own reverse Uno card in that scenario over by games. It is the potential of impact tricking, but the problem is they have actually set it up for the impact trick, but there are no impact tricking wielders currently. So that could be another blunder in favor of Purdue, at least if they're able to capitalize. That Ace is going to open up the wall from a safe distance. No capitalization for the time being of KSU, as once again they're playing a very linear strategy. Both rosters technically are, but there are far too many members of KSU in a very small area.
Yeah, Purdue are going to need to establish some sort of good crossfire, maybe some vertical play from below, but if they're all stacking up here on the master side, it's going to be hard to suss out all five defenders who are playing so passively and so cleverly right now on the site here. Mango going to be positioned here in dorms with an angle onto Trophy because he is aware that that is where Purdue pushed from last time. We see Stakes finding one onto Mila as Smack going to take almost all of his health get removed there. Oh my goodness, Providence now aware of his position, but that smoke going to prevent him from finding the angle. Hangman will get that one onto Smack as Poseidon finds another onto Mango here. So now, with 55 seconds remaining, it appears the execute's coming out here. We see Ace now pushing into games, very aggressive, going for an interesting position on the plant here. It will allow Hangman to establish that good angle from Attic, holding that kid's rotate. The Nomad, we saw that air jab go out. McCool's gonna swing it, but he will fall to Goose. A double kill for Hangman as he found the rotating kids, and now it's Kaid, but he can do nothing but die. And Providence there, brilliant work from him to find that final kill. And after getting that plant down, it was a brilliant push and a brilliant take from Purdue, and that will give them the back-to-back round wins on the dorm site.
Once again, KSU was far too passive of holding anything. They just sat back in one area, maybe a square feet of, we'll call it 7 meters, and just sat back and let the attackers set up their own crossfires, utilize their utility, and go for their execute. And honestly, that plant that we saw going down over by mini table or mini T, depending on which roster you're playing with, has become kind of the secondary plant, assuming that you have the appropriate crossfires to actually go for that. The problem is it requires you to have a man advantage, and also the second factor is you have to have the majority of the defenders stuck in dorms. Those two criteria were checked off perfectly for the attacking roster of Purdue. They saw the avenue and they pushed straight for the plant. And now we're going to be returning over to the tertiary bomb site of Meeting. Now, a lot of teams aren't comfortable with this bomb site, or they prefer the dining execute. However, statistically, if we're utilizing the NAL standings from stage 1, this is the best bomb site in the entire competitive scene.
And they've done a brilliant job thus far, both defending and attacking, really. But Purdue here, clearly the dominant force. I'm interested to see, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about the Meeting compared to the kitchen site.
So it comes down to buffer rooms. Now, when people talk about buffer rooms, those are small rooms that surround the bomb site. Now, we see a lot of impact tricking when you actually defend into dining room, and that can help you for that. But the problem with that is, as soon as the attackers get control, they're going to have a multi-angle crossfire. You can see that crossfire coming in from elbow over here, from showers, as well as from small tower. Those crossfires are far too oppressive on actually holding in that B bomb site, which is why Meeting Room is actually superior. The only avenue the attackers have is over in T2. It's a very small area, and you can't set up your crossfires. Now, both of them actually require you to hold from above, and you're going to see Purdue executing on that right now.
Yes, and here we are going to see early fights come out here on the upstairs presence from the defense. That's McCool taking a fight here as the attacking presence is now going to build up and try to force this top-down play out as soon as they can here. We see Hangman opening up this rotate into closet to try to establish these angles, but the defenders will have the ability to drop down that hatch. I believe they've opened that up if they need to. So the Castle and the Wamai left to hold on as all that utility going to be poured in onto their heads here. But one will drop, and now it's up to McCool left to defend this. But when he knows that he is forced out, he will drop. As I say that, though, he'll make me eat my words, and he will not drop in time, and he will die at the hand of Poseidon. Brilliant job from him pushing up into the kids rotate and making that happen.
A temporary hold for the attacking roster of Purdue. They have the man advantage, but they're going to have to continue steamrolling through KSU if they want to be successful. One piece of the puzzle is now in their hands, but there are still 2 more pieces to go. Vertical destruction is going to force the defenders to locate into new directions and new areas. This is exactly the strategy that Purdue wants to bring, and this is how they've been winning the majority of their bomb plans. But Goose is going to find himself down but not out on his back. There is no answer back whatsoever from the defenders of KSU, as the man advantage is going to start to steamroll even more in favor of Purdue, as Bandit is now removed. Stop is going to go hunting for one, unable to land the shots, his position given away.
Yeah, now it's a 3v5. KSU going to have to make something happen, and Mango will do exactly that. He'll find the headshot onto Hangman, removing the Zofia from play, and Goose is going to be low on health, and as will Poseidon. So the execute going to have to come down. They're going to push into Meeting, and Stepbro going to get absolutely destroyed as Providence finds the headshot onto him. I thought he had the advantage in that gunfight, but Stepbro not able to hand it. Mango trading it out, though, onto Goose, and Stakes now left behind in Meeting here. Going to have to find any attackers that he can, though, but Poseidon just shutting him down, and Mila with the follow-up onto Mango. Purdue just looking brilliant. A great push in those last few seconds to give them the round win and take this to a 4-1 scoreline, I believe.
Indeed, it will be the case. And for the time being, KSU is really struggling to find any impact on these bomb sites. They won basement all the way back in round number 2 because they're able to waste as much time as possible. Now, fortunately for them, basement will reopen up, and it is imperative for KSU to win this bomb site if they still want to be a factor in map number 1. We talk about 4-2 splits very often, but it's usually the defenders in favor of those 4-2 splits. But today, it's going to be the reverse Uno card, as the attackers are the ones almost delivering themselves to the 4-2 split.
Yeah, KSU, they're going to need to find some way to pull this round out. Otherwise, I got to say, it looks like Purdue are going to take this one for sure. With 5-1 going into your defensive half, you have so many choices of site. You can switch around every single round. And really, I wouldn't see KSU able to come back from that much of a deficit. So they're really going to need to win this one in order to even have a chance, as Purdue will eventually go to their defense after this next round here. But going to the basement once again, I would love to see how KSU are going to adapt. They know what Purdue have liked to do so far. They haven't put any pressure on blue. They put it all on the freezer side and on the laundry side. And right now for Purdue, Poseidon and Hangman, finding a ton of frags, 6-2 and 5-2. And on the side of KSU, it's mostly Mango who's putting in a lot of that work right now. He will elect to go with the Goyo at this moment, and he'll have that C4 in hand, as well as those deployable shields that can be so powerful, especially when, they have those basically mini mirror windows, you could say, ever since they were introduced. The deployable shield meta really seen at its finest every time we go to this basement on Oregon.
Once again, KSU is going to try to rely on a 4C or 4 shield strategy. But the problem was they're not adjusting the shields with the execute that Purdue is doing. A lot of teams are far too linear, and their IGL isn't making the appropriate calls, understanding where that push is coming from. Most teams think IGLs do one thing, that is only an attack, that is calling the strategy, and that is it. But an IGL should be far more in depth than that, actually orchestrating the strategy mid-round. And it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are, an IGL or a staff member, a strategy that you write down on a piece of paper will never go exactly as planned. And that's one of the most important things to remember when you're playing any type of competitive game, whether it's an e-sport or a traditional sport.
Yeah, that is a really good point, Chief. And in addition to that, when at the collegiate level, we see a lot of skill gap between, the best players in the league and some of the more support players who really are there just to support their college team and do their best. But like players like on this Purdue squad, when they pop off, they put up in crazy numbers. And so you can get some big round discrepancies, or big like in-round discrepancies of like, it's a 2v5 or 2v4, but you have really dominant guns on one side or the other that are able to pull it back. So like you said, adaptation and pivoting and changing your strategy for the situation, that's what this collegiate level is all about. And it's hard to find someone with enough siege experience and enough, in-game, strategy and planning to make that happen. But so far, Purdue looking like they're able to do that, and as they've been able to adapt so effectively.
But once again, Purdue has done this exact same tack before, and the defenders of KSU ran into this perfectly the last time. So what iteration are they going to make? Oh, it's just going to be clicking heads as Mila's going to absolutely punish Smack, and that is the battle that is old as time, Jaeger versus Ash, and in this installment it is going to be Ash that is just better in that scenario. That is the opening kill that Purdue desperately needed. The avenue is just going to get wider and wider as more members of KSU are going to start to fall on through. Hangman is going to catch a player on a very bad rotate. Mango now shut on down as it's just a 1v5, an almost impossible scenario for Mick Cool. His position is known, M590, shotgun in hand, looking the wrong way and shut on down. It's going to be a 5-1 split at the half.
Hangman, oh my goodness, what a 4K I believe from him. Just incredible play. We saw him work his way down Freezer and just find every single defender out of position and just completely caught unaware. So with a 5-1 scoreline, what can KSU do to bring this back?
They have to coordinate flawlessly on their attack. They have to synergize and play as a team. And right now on defense, I just see 5 members on defense. Now, maybe 5 members on attack. I should only see one unit coming together. That is the most important thing. And that separates good teams from great teams. When you only see one individual in the lobby, because that one individual represents the entire 5-man stack. And you can also incorporate the support staff into that one individual mindset and mentality. A lot of people tend to highlight, the flashy entry fragger type plays. But that last round, round number 6, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a little baby drone right in front of Zoe's feet, providing all the information. Sure, Zofia is a mechanically gifted player, but those kills would have been a lot harder without those pre-known informations.
Yeah, that was just so well done from Purdue. We saw the coordination, and it just worked perfectly. So, we're heading back to dorm. This is a site that KSU have failed twice to defend whatsoever. They're going to need to bring something different than we've seen so far. Once again, they've seen what Purdue have done. Purdue did this pretty much the same exact take twice in a row, and it hasn't been that complicated. They've just sent it, Mach 10, into games from the trophy door and from closet. They haven't really bothered to take all that utility and take all that time to open up attic. They're just getting Hangman on that Zofia, who's just going to jump into that window. Oh, excuse me. The sides have switched, so it is now Purdue working that defense, and so they're going to have to learn from, what they've seen from KSU thus far, and going to have to come up with some defensive strategy to make this one. Apologies there. The sides have switched.
Well, you can see Ubisoft trying to troll all the casters. Sometimes our collective 3 brain cells, they're not firing on all cylinders, and sometimes they're just like, I'm going to take a nap. It's a Friday. It's been a long work week. But how will Purdue, now on defense, be able to shut down KSU? Well, right now, it's going to be Mango opening up the north side of Attic. It's going to be a very bog standard execute so far for KSU. So what is going to Purdue answer that back? Are there going to be bullets flying through these Maverick trick holes? For the time being, not so well, as Mango is going to get a little bit of an oopsie with this flaming torch device, and that's going to be a free shot for Purdue, but no shots actually landing, no HP lost.
Yes, and we are going to see, the usual stuff here. We already see the Zofia. That's going to be Smack working her way up into Trophy and throwing those Zofia utilities, those concussion grenades over into Attic to try to assist that Attic push from the Ash and from the Maverick. That'll be Mango and Stakes on that Attic push, but they're going to have to contend with Mila and Goose, and it's not going to be easy. Now it's going to be up to Smack, who's going to get very aggressive on this Trophy door, but he still has to contend with several defenders and a deployable shield facing that door with a very angry Providence position behind it. The fights will come out, but no shots will connect from either player here as the attacking push in Attic is still stalled out. The flashes are going to come in now, but those mine magnets are going to try to hinder them as much as possible. Smack will find one onto Poseidon, so great work from Smack. Take the advantage there, but Mila with the follow-up onto Mango. Can he find a second? He will not, and Stakes winning that fight here. So now it's a 3v4, and still anyone's game, though, as the defenders, a lot of HP and have the positional advantage so far in this round.
But the problem is KSU has the man advantage, and they can set up a multi-angle crossfire and directly pounce and execute onto the bomb site. It's going to be a myriad of drones rolling on through. All 4 members of KSU is going to be on their drone devices, trying to grab that information, trying to locate the 3 remaining members of Purdue, calling for reinforcements, and thus calling for the execute. Smoke grenades from the attackers, smoke grenades from the defenders are going to answer that on back, as a bomb is going to be planted right on Foosball's table. A Nitrocell is going to go out, but it's not going to find its target. It's going to be KSU in a post-plant scenario with a huge man advantage, and now it is Just Jaeger in a 1v3. He's fishing from targets, but he has no idea where to look. Looks the wrong direction, shut on down. KSU wins on attack.
Great push from KSU. They really knew how to do it, and they never looked too hard for them. They had the man advantage the entire time. They, while it took them a while to get Attic control, didn't really matter because they had the closet open. They had Trophy control, and they just absolutely sent it onto site and did what they had to do. They found the necessary picks. They forced the smoke out from behind that deployable shield, forcing them to rotate around. And I mean, it was simple as that. KSU just took that round with ease. So Purdue now going to do their best to adapt and go to the same site once again. And how do you feel about that one?
Well, we're going to have to see if they can make an adaptation. Like I said, I never like going to the same bomb site twice in a row, especially since the attackers have already seen the strategy you're going to bring. Looking at the operator lineup, it's more or less the same thing, so hopefully Purdue is able to change up their strategy. Now, they started to falter because they got far too aggressive. They're trying to flank up those main stairs all the way on the other side of the map, those north staircases. The problem is most attacking rosters do their due diligence and set up flank drones. And there was a flank drone over on the boxes right above that east camera. And you can actually see it being placed once again. It was Ash's drone, and now actually they're going to be rotating that drone around. Right as I highlighted, I get caster cursed away. And so far, Ubisoft doesn't want us to be accurate one bit today.
Yes, and I do want to comment on something we saw that last round. Late into that push, there's about 10 seconds left. Stakes, the Ash, was outside of Attic and was actually on the drone, droning her teammates into sight. And that's not something you usually see from someone who takes an Ash pick. Usually you see those Ash just leading the team into sight. But I love that, adaptability of that role from Stakes, clearly showing that it didn't really matter that he was on Ash. He's happy to provide support for his team in those times of need. And it ended up being so perfectly well executed. The drone work, providing that intel that they needed to get that brilliant execute onto site here. So it looks like we get a very similar strategy coming out from the attack. You'll get a couple of players in Attic and a couple coming on the closet side. But Hangman, the roamer of choice here now for the Purdue side. And his job going to be to take his time, delay this push, and possibly, once again, try to find any intel from below, any C4s, or find a late flank onto white stairs.
Well, Melusi may no longer have the T5, but she still has plenty of her lethality, as well as her 3 wub-wub devices. Couple that with the Nitro Cell, she can be quite a terrifying opponent to be against right now. But she's going to be lurking downstairs in the basement, but working her way up the north stairs just very quietly, trying to be a sneaky beaky, but forced to shoot away the air jab. No more sneaky beaky plays for her as she's rotating away from the basement, and she's going to have to come up the white stairs now, rejoin her teammates over on the bomb site. But KSU, they have opened up Games Wall. They have opened up the attic wall. They're in a great position to go for the execute.
Yeah, and we're going to see the frags come out from Mango trying to get the attic pressure going. But right now, we still see the exact same pressure we saw last time. We see Mila and Goose doing their best to hold this down. But with 2 minutes into the round, they already got that attic wall open, and that is some really good efficiency from the KSU attack. And they're going to try to carry that efficiency over into a good take here. Smack, once again, swinging on Trophy, shooting those concussion grenades in, trying to find anyone, stun them if she can. And it'll be Poseidon holding this angle close, M59 in hand, trying to just absolutely body anybody who pushes into this doorway. And that was going to be Stepbro. He's going to be the one elected to do that job first here. But the attackers now, I'm liking this little pivot I'm seeing. We're going to see the Ashe and the Zofia work their way over onto the main window in that balcony there. And this is a great pivot, realizing that the attic is not the pressure, is not going to provide that good pressure that they were looking for. So this great adaptation, we're going to see if it finds anything for the attackers though, but 30 seconds remaining and they're going to need to get something going. Poseidon will try to swing with the shotgun and he will find one. Stepbro going down, going to challenge by the Maverick. Can he find him? Yes, and 3 back-to-back kills there from the defense. Stakes and McCool with the follow-up, but McCool going to be forced to fall back into bedroom. It's a 2v3 with 8 seconds left. A push is going to have to come out. Stakes will find the double kill though on this to rotate. Will another one? Yes, but Goose and Mila will trade them out. And just like that, Purdue will recover from that early deficit, and they will indeed take this dorm's victory.
Wow, a perfect execute almost in favor of KSU, but time was not on their side. And honestly, the roster of KSU that we've seen on attack looks completely different from the team that we saw on defense. The team that we saw on defense was almost meek. They were far too passive. They were playing the clock and just saying, we're going to utilize Father Time as much as possible. But here on attack, they're showing their fangs. They're willing to get aggressive, and they're winning their gunfights on their aggression. Now, maybe it's because their strategy is starting to fall apart. Their macro strategy isn't there, so thus they're defaulting to just winning engagements. And sometimes when you're mechanically gifted, that's an option you have. That is your final win condition. When there's no strategy, just click heads. Like an old teammate of mine said, when there's no strategy, just click heads, forehead.
You're exactly right. And 6-2. It's match point, and KSU have quite a hill to climb if they're going to take this one back. They're going to have to deal with, 4 match points back-to-back from Purdue if they want to take this one to overtime, and that is going to be quite the challenge, as Purdue now have their choice of sites eventually, but right now they will be heading to the basement site, and they're going to do their best to lock this one down if they can. We're going to see very similar stuff that we saw from KSU. We have a rotate onto elbow there into the tarps area, and we're going to see the same, holes made from freezer wall into laundry to establish those angles early. But right now, it's really going to be up to the KSU attack. I cannot wait to see what they're going to bring out here. As we've seen them, this is the first time we're going to see their attack on to the basement site, but right now, early eyes here, looks like it appears they're just going to send it into construction, a strategy that we see many teams electing to do.
But this is actually the first time we've seen this strategy in map number 1, because Purdue was going for a south and west execute coming down 2 staircases, which can turn into quite the fatal funnel. But it doesn't matter if it's a fatal funnel if you can just win your engagements. And it's going to be KSU's turn to understand and learn potentially the hard way what a fatal funnel is, just on completely the other side of the bomb site. But KSU is going to do their due diligence, and they're going to be clearing out T3. Now, if you remember, when this map was in its original state, it was absolutely imperative to clear T3 first, because you never knew if there was a Doc lurking above that top tower trying to punish you for your engagement. And here we go. J Bunker completely relinquished on the side of Purdue, and this can allow KSU to manipulate the east side of the bomb site in any way they choose.
That's a surprising decision there from Purdue to back off elbow so early and not really worry about that too much. But I also think it shows their maturity. It shows how strongly they perform as a team, because they know that if they just hold sight, if they play their lives rather than that angle unnecessarily, that it may benefit them rather than just trying to force it too much. We already see Mango up in electric here, trying to push out anybody she can, but not going to find anybody right now. And Province will be the player to contend with, holding the SMG-11 in hand behind the bomb. The flashes will come out, completely blinding Providence there, but Goose now going to rotate back down into Freezer to support his boys if he can. Mango now pushed up, but the Toxic Babes come out and are going to force Mango out of that position. And really just trying to delay this attack as much as possible. But with a minute remaining, you can't delay all of this inevitably, as Hangman there will find the first one. We already are going to see this push come out. The Toxic Babes, they still have 2 in play to delay this. Well, Magma is coming in handy as Stepbro finds 1, and Goose will trade it out onto Mango. But it's a 3v3, anyone's game at this point. KSU are going to have to find these defenders who are tucked away in very safe positions right now.
The problem is KSU has all their manpower in exactly the same area. There is no way for them to set up a crossfire. McCool is going to make a huge blunder, walking through the door frame and shot on down by the 416. Stake's going to work his way on through, winning his engagement, but instantaneously trade. It doesn't matter when Goose is alive, pistol in hand. It's suppressed, but it's going to land its headshots true. That is going to be Purdue winning map number 1 in commanding fashion, looking unstoppable. The second seed gets better and better every single map.
Unbelievably well done for Purdue there. They just looked so strong, but really it came down to Goose in those last few seconds. I mean, Goose with the double kill and that clutch with that pistol. You love to see that. You know, Stepbro there got a bit flustered at the end, tried to swing that, but in the end it was Goose that came out on top. And got to give it up to him, you know, coming up at the bottom of the leaderboard, but making an absolute huge contribution. And Chief, this is something I like to say every time. You see flashy players lighting up the leaderboard here and there, and those are usually the roamers, usually the entry fraggers. But you can't say enough about how important support players are to your team, because roamers can't do their job without an amazing anchor presence on that site. They know how to save their own lives. They play passive, they play time, and that will enable the roamers to do their job and light up that scoreboard.
I concur, my friend. And honestly, we're talking about that Zofia play. I believe that was in round number 6. And I can't remember who was on Zofia, but she was constantly being walked in by the drone. Now, sure, Zofia got this big, macro, grandiose play, but it was all being facilitated by a support player. And sure, you can say Zofia is mechanically gifted. That is true. But those kills have been so much more difficult without the information flooding on through. A good team has communication and mechanical skill. Those are the most important things to be successful in Rainbow Six Siege. And right now, Purdue currently has that. But I have to give credit to KSU. They looked good, especially on attack. They were almost a completely different roster on attack. And if KSU is able to bring that exact same consistency and intensity in map number 2, I think they're going to prove some haters wrong and bloody a lot of noses.
Absolutely correct there. And KSU, even though it was 7-2, like you said, they did look like they knew what they were doing, and they put up a good fight. Each round looked like it was a battle to the very last second. And with a 7-2 scoreline, normally that's like a steamroll, but it didn't really feel like that from a spectator's point of view here. But only time will tell, and we'll get into our second match. Clubhouse will be the map of choice right after this brief break. Please stick with us.
Music keeps me on
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And if you are just joining us, we just saw a dominant Purdue squad there taking a 7-2 victory on Oregon. And our second map of the night is going to be Clubhouse. But first, Chief, talk to me about how that last map Oregon went and what things each team can learn going into this second one.
So it was really the battle of high energy attacks because the defenders were far too passive the majority of the time, where the attackers would just start to steamroll their way on through. And it was KSU. They started off very shaky on defense, but they started to correct their mistakes over to attack. But at the end, the damage was already done. They didn't have enough buffer rooms, and slowly but surely they started to crumble on through. The problem is, we're going back over to Club, a map that has the same rhythm and pace as our first map of Oregon. So KSU has to tread very lightly, but I'm impressed what I saw in attack. And if they're able to continue with that momentum, they're going to bloody some noses, like I said before we switched to map 2.
And Purdue is proving that they are not only the 2 seed, but that they want to be the 1 seed. And they came into tonight with a massive chip on their shoulders. As many of you know, there's been a lot of controversy over in another collegiate league, CEA, with Purdue. We're not going to really get into that, but due to some technical issues on their end, they actually were eliminated from the playoffs in the first round. And that was a very big upset for them. So we're going to get right into this second map and really going to see how Purdue are just going to take control of this.
And here we go. The staple of T3 Rainbow Six Siege Clubhouse is going to rear its ugly head once again. And it's probably going to be the same bands rolling on through, more or less. Everybody loves to relegate Thatcher straight to the rubbish bin. But who will be joining him today? It could also be a Maverick. We've seen some few Capitals rolling on through, but in map number 1, it was a Monty. So both of these teams can really mix things up. We're going to have to see who it is. And no, there he is, the SAS operator, no longer a factor.
Yeah, and when I'm on defense on this map, the first band I always go with is Maverick. I hate, as a bandit main myself, I hate dealing with the Maverick tricking. Like, the Maverick will come up there and just ruin your hopes and dreams, your one job in the round. Your bandit tricking like CCTV or jacuzzi wall, and he just says, not a chance, get out of here. And with that torch in hand, he just scares you off. But we are going to see the Maverick ban as ban number 2. And on defense, you usually see something like in the likes of a Mira and a Kaid, and the Kaid going to come out first. So powerful with those electro claws, and with a Thatcher and a Maverick ban, you could put a Kaid like on the, underneath of jacuzzi wall or in the garage or tucked around the CCTV wall there, and make them impossible to get and impossible to open the wall. And that's obviously why we see him banned here.
Oh, you've been listening to my script far too much. You stole the words straight out of my mouth, my friend. Yeah, invulnerable Kaids, incredibly oppressive on this map, but no longer a factor. And Mira is removed as well. Now, Mira can be oppressive on this map. She might be one of the most oppressive operators in all of the defensive side of Rainbow Six Siege. But is she that oppressive here on this map? Are there other operators that could be a bigger factor? But today and now, it looks like KSU is going to say, she's too strong for us today. She won't be a factor. And well, we've also seen a change up in pace from a lot of teams. A lot of teams started to utilize cache CCTV as their primary bomb site, but teams have started to go away from that and have actually started to utilize the basement as their primary bomb site. And the huge change is actually gym bedrooms coming into the rotation as a secondary bomb site. Simply put, attacking teams have become so darn good at shutting down cache CCTV that rosters need to change something, and the change is the order in which they're playing bomb sites.
Yeah, this map is a staple of every single level of Siege, from pros down to ranked. I mean, this is one of the most favored maps, I think. And I mean, personally, it's my favorite map, I gotta say, but that may not be the majority opinion. But it's a great map to play and a great map to see and cast as well. But I'm really interested to see exactly what the defense is going to bring here. There's so many different options when you have in Church. Obviously, there are some things you just must do. Usually we see the Church wall hard and reinforced, but sometimes teams make a couple of breach holes in there and use it as a a cheeky little angle to establish on main, but we're not going to see that today, and that's going to be hard right now. And very similar, it looks like we see the Legion and the Maestro prepping for some impact tricking on that kitchen hatch, because that is so important to hold that hatch as long as you possibly can, especially with the Kaid is banned off the table.
So we've been seeing a lot of Melusi Wublubs actually start to be basically pseudo barbed wire, because sure, barbed wire slows people down, it makes noises, but the disco sound is so much louder that teams are actually not running barbed wire whatsoever. They're running impact grenades to shut down the top hatch, and Jaegers are actually bringing bulletproof cameras. I believe if we show up the lineup once again, Goose does have that bulletproof camera. So it's about bringing the defenders as much information and hard utility, bulletproof gadgetry that the attackers are going to have to force to shut down. Remember, utility consumption simulator, it is the name of the game, and everyone's going to be playing the game.
Yep. And we see Mila, the one roamer to deal with. I believe that will be the Melusi. Everyone else has fallen back onto site, and right now the Melusi is going to hold a position on main stairs, being the last to fall back, the last to shoot those drones and delay time. But right now, she will fall back, and now the attackers have complete map control, aside from the basement, of course, and now it's going to be their job to establish those angles, find any picks that they can to enable this push to go down. We'll see the Ash breaching charges come out. Here comes the impact trick. It will be able to remove the first set of X-Kairos pellets. But right now, it appears that Mango actually coming down main stairs to try to find anyone. Might get into a fight with somebody playing in Moto right now, but the defender playing a bit more passive, and that will be Goose holding this angle, just playing time, not challenging that if they don't have to. Legion Hangman almost got caught out there, but gonna escape with his life. Should have been aware that there was a player down main, but in the end, it's not going to be that big of a deal because he is okay. And he's going to use that life that he has remaining to shoot up onto the kitchen hatch and pressure that as the drones come in. It appears a Moto take is in order.
The thing is, the attackers need to have more avenues to push from. Moto and central stairs is not enough. It's going to either be a dirt tunnel execute or a secret stairs execute. You need to set up a 90-degree crossfire or a 180-degree crossfire. And right now, KSU has not done their due diligence. Mila is going to be attempting to find one, but she's going to be showing her back. Shut on down for absolutely free. Unbridled aggression is going to cost her life. This is going to be now KSU flooding into the B bomb site. They have control. They have the angles. But where's the answer back from Purdue? It's going to come just a little bit too late. Bomb's almost down the deck. As a myriad of death is going to fill this lobby. Somehow KSU is in favor, but the bomb is completely surrendered. There's no answer back whatsoever. It's going to actually eventually come on through. Poor Goose's position given away. It's now known and shut on down. KSU, a miraculous execute.
Unbelievably well done from KSU. It really looked like they were struggling to get a good footing going into that one. It took them a while to get kitchen hatch open because there were 6 impacts, I think, brought from the defense. And that's just, first of all, that's just cruel to bring that many impacts to impact trick. But eventually the hatch got open. The pressure came down. The main stairs pressure happened. And really, Purdue had no response for such a decisive and efficient push. So I got to give it up to KSU, a brilliant push. And what they're going to be trying to do right now is shift that momentum coming out of that last map after being down, losing by 5 rounds. They're going to need to get their footing early here. And that is what they're looking to do right now. Round 1 going to them, and a good start to say the least.
I have to be very critical of Mila. I try not to call out players, but if you're committing to a play, you have to commit. If the moment you start to second guess yourself and back yourself into a corner, it's going to be absolutely a free kill. Actually, the read that Mila had was perfect. She could hear the audio cues of 3 players, one of them on central stairs, the other 2 by trip wall. If she committed to her wide swing, she would have killed the 2 players because they were far too focused on trip wall, and the player on central stairs couldn't have gone for the wide swing. She could have retreated back safely. The problem was she second guessed herself and retreated after giving a free about 4 or 5 bullets down range. That was enough of a cue for KSU to have 3 individuals pound straight onto Mila, and it was just open season. When you're a player, especially on defense, getting aggressive, you commit 110% or you don't do it at all.
And as we get into round number 2 here, we're heading back to the basement. So it's going to be a little bit of a rinse and repeat situation. We're going to have to see if Purdue are able to bring something differently, as they really were just taken down one at a time. Very similar stuff we're seeing from KSU right off the bat. Their goal, take map control, remove any roamers from play. And right now, that is the entire focus. We'll have McCool using that angle onto main stairs, just in case there are any defenders upstairs on that top floor, maybe in Master, maybe in CCTV. It will force any defenders who push down main stairs, and he will be able to find that before they escape with their lives. But it looks like they won't be contested whatsoever, and map control on the top floor and on the main floor completely in the hands of the attack. So now the shift of focus is going to be on to getting those hatches open and getting some pressure down main stairs.
KSU has definitely been doing their VOD reviews, not only of T3 teams, but also T1 teams. This tack is a mirror image of the Dark Zero execute onto basement, where you repeat the same steps over and over again. It can be a little bit slow, but as soon as it's ingrained in your muscle memory, you become very quick at clearing both the second floor as well as that first floor. It allows you to have more map control, start to take vertical pressure, and force the defenders to get aggressive. Lo and behold, this strategy is going to work out brilliantly. Mila's going to be forced to overextend and being shut down once again for the over-aggression. Moto Hatch is going to start to work its way open, as well as Ashwell. KSU already understanding how to execute on the basement.
We already see here Mango going to be pushing up into Moto, and now with Moto control and control of the hallway down in the basement here, it's going to be time for an execute very soon. We've got the diffuser in the hands of McCool, who's down main stairs, just holding a long angle, knowing the Hangman sometimes can flirt with that doorway, maybe dart across there, but this time Hangman going to be a bit safe and not do that right now. But right now, Mango's going to push into B and look for one, but will not find it and will be taken down for her troubles there. So Hangman, great work from him as the drones continue to pepper into sight here. But right now, Purdue with the very swift response. It's going to come out to this Moto push right now as the rest of the attackers are now currently upstairs and down Moto, but Providence with the Alda. What a double kill from him. Just brutal, swinging out, not a care in the world, and we'll find back-to-back headshots, making it look easy. It's up to Step Bro, and it's up to Stakes, and they're going to have to find 4. Providence is down to 1 HP for his troubles, but that Alda still going to be very powerful, and assisted by a player in blue. It's going to be tough for Stakes to make this Moto push happen. We've got 10 seconds remaining, and Providence finds another, and Goose will finish it off. My man, Providence, the triple kill with the Alda. Very impressive work, and that's going to tie us up at 1-1.
If I can make the same joke twice in a row, so pardon me for this, just hold mouse one forehead. The Alda does what it does. 82 bullets of sadness and destruction are going to find 3 soft bodies in that round. And KSU, they started off strong. They cleared the second floor, they cleared the top floor, and they got the opening kill. They started to work through with their vertical destruction, but once again, Father Time was a big hindrance. They were far too linear. They put too many bodies in the same avenue, and the Alda, with so many bullets, all you need to do is leave your cover, and that gun is going to shut you on down. I highlighted in round number 1, KSU did not have any crossfires whatsoever. They're able to bully their way into the bomb site. They attempt to do that once again, but the defenders actually run into that perfectly. If KSU, or I bet they're at when KSU goes for the execute on the basement, they're going to need to make the adaptation of putting players down secret stairs, because if they don't, that power position, that apex point will still be up and active.
That was a brilliant adjustment from Purdue. It looked like KSU was doing the same thing, and they were doing it well, like you just said. And Purdue, they adapted. You know, obviously Providence there just going to send it into that hallway and find 2. What a brilliant maneuver. And that one will definitely win them the round here. But now basement is over after we're going to equalize at 1-1 on that site. And we're going to head up to the CCTV cache site. Now, this one has seen so much play. There are so many different ways to hold this CCTV wall, but it's Providence elected to do the bandit tricking. They've prepped all that soft destruction so he can, with that Swiss cheese wall, at least use that, sound now, those sound cues to help him out with that bandit trick. But right away, McCool, his sole job here is going to be to open this wall, and it's going to be a question of, can Providence prevent that for the duration of the round?
Well, bandit tricking will most likely not be a factor because there's two soft destructors all their way in stocks right now. With two breaching charges of their own, vertical destruction is going to go out as soon as the all clear is given away from the murder holds that Purdue is already set up. So Providence most likely is going to just place his bandit batteries hard and rotate away. But KSU is a little bit delayed on that vertical destruction. It's going to come out nonetheless. Bandit now forced away. It's going to be a textbook opening of the wall for the attacking roster of KSU. But the big question is, will Purdue be able to flank from bar? It might not matter. Actually, it is a flank from bar all the way from strip. The headshot's going to line up perfectly as, oh no, Sticks actually died all the way by bikes. The blunder of the century, a hard breacher sacrifices Laura Tachanka.
Oh my, I mean, pushing alone into strip there, I believe that was. I mean, that's not the best maneuver there, but got to give it up to Hangman with that situational awareness to make that kill happen and to give Purdue a pretty big advantage going into this one. But lo and behold, the CCTV wall will be opened up, and now the bandit will retreat to this deployable shield. Again, such a strong position for him to hold. So the attackers have a whole nother problem that they're going to have to deal with. They're going to have to get that deployable shield out, but assisted by the breaching rounds from those two operators below, they may be able to do it. Mila left to contend on rafters, but Smack says not a chance and will take Mila down. But Providence will respond and eliminate Stepbro. Hangman might be able to find one, but no. Wow, what a shot from Smack. Just giving Hangman the smack right there. But Providence again with the follow-ups, proving so effective in these early rounds. So it's a 3v2, and Purdue have the advantage with 40 seconds remaining in round number 3.
Just like a really spicy curry, KSU's mouth is going to be on fire, and hopefully they're able to communicate amongst themselves. Go for the execute. Rely on your two load of players. Bandit is going to make a huge blunder, getting far too aggressive, sacrificing himself to the meat grinder. It's now an equal man advantage with 20 seconds left on the clock. The attackers have a wonderful avenue to push on through, start the bomb plant on down, but where's the answer back whatsoever? Jaeger's going to work himself up. He's going to get the down. Now it's just effectively a 1v1. Mute looking the wrong direction. No idea that the down is going to be a factor, but the M590 is going to confirm that kill. A round that KSU was so close to winning, but Purdue was going to claim it by the skin of their teeth.
Well done there by Purdue in those closing seconds, but it got a bit dicey. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, Bandit, what are you doing, bro? You had a perfectly fine position up behind that shield, and he just stood up and ran across the site. I'm sure he was motivated by that for some reason, but from our perspective, it looked quite messy, and he fell to that breach. Definitely an interesting maneuver there, but in the end, didn't matter. Purdue with the win. KSU unable to find that last-minute execute that they so desperately needed there. So that means we're heading on to tertiary bomb site of choice, and that is Gym Bedroom. I love seeing this site in play because just as it rears its ugly head into even being the second preferred site, like you were saying earlier in T1 and T3, it's great to see what the defenders bring to the table here and how they try to mix it up, if they try to mix it up at all.
The thing with this bomb site is it's imperative that you waste as much hard breach gadgetry as possible. That means forcing basically the thermite to open up the west wall and then also open up this cache CCTV wall as well as a set of exo Cairo pellets. And the moment you do that, that's going to basically hinder the attackers on pushing in probably the best apex position, which is upstairs bathroom. That's going to allow the defender to basically sit very comfy, not only challenge the south windows, but also construction as well. If the attackers are able to impact trick, nitro cell trick, or just kill those members outright, that is how you win this bomb site. But those contingencies require frame perfect movements, and a lot of defending rosters haven't yet adapted or aren't comfortable doing that strategy as of yet.
And we are going to see a very textbook extended hold here from Purdue. They're going to play all horizontally, but they're going to, lock down cache and CCTV as long as they can. CCTV will be opened right away by that breaching charge from Ash, but the defender's job here, that'll be Mila, Poseidon, and Hangman. They're just going to try to stave off that push as long as they can from the cache side, because once you give up that control, just like you said, it can be so problematic to hold the master bedroom side because that hard breach can come out and just force you out of all of your positions. The breach is going to go down onto the jacuzzi wall, but the mute jammer going to prove suffocating at the moment as Mango looking for anybody he can. But right now, it's up to Mila now, who's adapted the role of the Malusi, as Hangman has now elected to play Castle, but still completely safe and sound here in Cash for the time being.
So we've seen a lot of T3 rosters forgo the flank watch operator and bring in Ayana instead, especially for this tertiary bomb site. She not only increases your drone economy by 50%, but you can really push out players over here in Cash Box, providing yourself with free information. And probably the most important thing, she brings a set of frag grenades to open up Jacuzzi Wall, which is currently where KSU is struggling with. And once again, they're going to struggle with more of these mute jammers. They're going to have to rotate from underneath if they actually want to deal with it. Now, they do have another option that is a full send through construction window, but Hangman is actively playing this with bullet hole peaks, and that won't be an advised situation, but Smack is going to find the opening kill. Malusi shut on down.
Yeah, and Mila, they're going to call out in a situation that Mila should not really be in. There's no reason to be there so long. You knew how much pressure was mounting from the attack, and with all of your support pulling back onto site, it was time to play your life rather than play the cash room, as that is not the site. But in the end, Mila will fall there, and now the attacking pressure in construction is looking very strong right now. We have the Nomad pressuring on the bedroom window while the rest of the team works their way up into construction, but Goose gonna try to stall that a little bit and find one, and Hangman would find another onto Mango, pushing up into logistics. So Stepbro on the bedroom window is gonna have to do a lot of work here, but McCool will find one onto Hangman, equalizing us at 3v3. But with 30 seconds remaining, the attackers now stacked up in construction. They're gonna have to make something happen here. Right now, the defender's in a very good position to deny this, as they're not too close to this door, other than Goose, obviously, and they can play the time as long as they need to. We're going to have somebody pressuring from the window here on Master. That's going to be McCool, and Goose will find one on the step row, and he can't. McCool will not be able to trade that out, and he will fall once again. And Stakes, though, will find one onto Providence, but in the end, it was Goose with unbelievable, I believe that's a 3K from Goose that round, and that's just brilliant play from him and going to give Purdue the win on the gym bedroom site.
Before this round even started, we're highlighting the importance of destroying hard breach gadgetry. But I guess there's a second alternative. You can just deny hard breach gadgetry with mute jammers and force the attackers to completely do a 180 and change up their executes. We're highlighting the importance of frag grenades. There were none whatsoever on the attacking side of KSU, and they're forced to just do a window full send execute. That is something that you can never rely on, especially with all the deployable shields that were strewn throughout that bomb site. They're basically just pushing pocket mirror windows that the defenders had free information on. I like the execute that KSU was trying to do. I like it in theory. They were just missing steps before the round even started. And that was the thing. The round was lost before they even confirmed their operators.
That is definitely a strong statement there, that the round is lost that early. But like you said, I mean, if you make those crucial early mistakes, I mean, you're never really going to stand a chance. And they failed to adapt that push at the right moment. They all stacked up in construction, and one by one, they just fed Goose the kills that Goose has been racking up thus far. And that is going to be enough, and that's going to take them down there. But we're heading back to basement. We saw both KSU win this site and Purdue win this site one time. So we're going to see how this one plays out here. Very similar play right now. Mila on the Malusi instead of Hangman, and will be the last to rotate down as the hatches are still soft and are going to have to take care of that. But last time, the impact tricking was so effective, and the Alda from Providence was also so effective. So we're going to have to see exactly what comes into effect here.
But the thing was, KSU's looking so good at clearing the second floor as well as that first floor. The problem is they're far too linear on their central stairs execute. They need to change something up. The Dark Zero roam clear works out well, but the thing is they're not following the last stage of that. That is setting up crossfires. And actually the DC execute has a player going not only through dirt, which can be a very bad fatal funnel, but when it's facilitated by a secret and a blue stairs execute, it works out very well, because the defender over by AK is going to have to fight a two-front battle, looking all the way to the north as well as the south. And honestly, my friend, I love to see glorious bandwave cheaters. Good night, get out of here.
Oh gosh, so you love every time there's a new patch, you always see a ton of band waves, but I'm loving the banning that we're seeing right now. It's great to see that Ubisoft is, cracking down on that community, making sure that players, even if they're not cheating, just toxic players in the community are removed as they should be. But here we are in round number 5. It's Mango once again pressuring down main stairs. And with 1:30 left in the round, this is pretty good progress, I've got to say. They've made pretty good headway so far, but Kitchen Hatch still remaining hard as the impact tricks have been so important. And as such, I believe the X-Kairos pellets will now open the stock hatch because of that unsuccessful kitchen hatch opening so far.
Well, we're going to call this Impact Grenade Bonanza, as Kitchen Hatch cannot be opened up one bit. And it's going to force the attackers to work their way over to triple wall. But the problem is there are more Impact Grenades.
No way.
Oh, no. McCool's going to learn the hard way, but it's going to get opened up anyways. A huge blunder from Purdue. So the Alt is going to force to get aggressive. He's going to be hunting for the player over by Central Stairs, but a pre-fire might give away his location. But he's going to hold the trigger on down and lose the engagement to McCool, the man that can open up walls through explosions. He's going to continue to do exactly that. But Goose is going to be working his way over to the Moto hatch. He's going to go for the drop. His position is known by the sound cue, but it doesn't matter when he just wins an exchange. He almost wins a second one. HP exchange, but not enough to actually kill those lone players. And once again, Purdue's going to find themselves in the man advantage, and the two lone hardbreakers, they're going to have to do the impossible. They're going to have to find 2 more kills. The checklist is going to get a little bit easier as Abana gets a kill of her own. Mila's going to work her way up to Ash Wall and work her way down. Is she going to get a kill onto McCool? Bearing 9 in hand. A terrible gun to use in a 1v2. It's going to find one, but she had the down earlier. A miraculous clutch for KSU. The Bearing 9 doesn't matter. It's a winning its engagement.
Unbelievable push from KSU to win that one. It went back and forth, but KSU just winning their gunfights in the last few minutes. And if you're Purdue, you got to be thinking, well, it doesn't matter how good we set up site if we're not winning our ones. You say it all the time, but I will say it again. And it can always just come down to just superior gunplay. And Stakes with the Bearing 9 proving he is superior in this moment. Amazing work from Stakes to make that push happen and to take that round win. So once again, we're seeing Purdue struggle on basement. And so they're not going to bother going for it one more time now that they have unlocked CCTV site once again. So that is where we will be heading for our final round of this half.
I am still discombobulated. The words were stolen out of my mouth. What an impeccable round by KSU. And they've accomplished their goal. They've achieved 2 rounds. If they're able to win the 3rd round, they're going to be in phenomenal standing, moving over to their defense stint. But that's going to require them to win cash CCTV. I love their execute. They utilize that vertical destruction, and they forced away Bandit. And honestly, it'd probably be more advantageous for Purdue just put a mute jammer on that wall and utilize those bandit batteries all the way over in garage. That's going to force the attackers to basically utilize more utility if they want to open up that avenue in garage.
I gotta say, Purdue seems to be struggling a bit more on this map than I really expected. And I guess that could be chalked up to the fact that a map that's played so often with such well-developed strats, across all of Siege, the skill gap between teams can definitely be equalized a little bit because there's not that much you can do anymore once, the maps are so played out like Clubhouse can be sometimes. Hangman actually going to get pretty aggressive here and may tempt this run out here over on the strip run out. You can always find players who are pushing into the CCTV window or pressuring garage, and Stake's going to be the player in danger here, but aware of that position, aware of that run out, he will back off and play a bit more carefully right now. Very similar strategies from both teams last time we saw this site just as well, but Mila will find a good flank onto Mango, removing the Ash and the breaching round from play. That could be huge. The Zofia is going to be left to contend with the bandit batteries from below, but Smack not alone down here. He has to contend with Mila, a very powerful roamer, and as well as Hangman, who's also doing some roam work right now. I believe that was actually Mila who was on the rafters of garage who proved to be so powerful there.
Well, I think a thermite charge is placed somewhere over in garage. Is going to be opening up that wall. Smack is going to be attempting to deny the bandit trick. Providence is going to think better about his life, and he's going to be electrifying his deployable shield, which means Ash breaching launchers will not be able to destroy it. You're going to have to bring an impact grenade all the way from Zofia. The problem is she's currently on that first floor, holding that tight angle, so it's going to have to be a full rotation on through the oven. The only avenue for that is going to be stocks for the time being. The attackers have a good path, good crossfires, but they're going to need to be better. They're going to need to either take control of garage or open up construction.
And with Hangman still downstairs, he could prove to be some serious late trouble here if the attackers of KSU are not aware of this. We see the drones coming out onto rafters. Mila going to have to be aware of that. But right now, it's going to be two attackers trying to pressure this. They were successfully able to do this last time, and as such, they could get such strong pressure from the garage. Rafters rotate here. Flashes come out, all completely blinded, I believe. Smack going to blind himself, but Mila will also be completely flashed. With support from Providence, though, will remove the player. That will be Stepbro pushing up the stairs. Brilliant awareness from Providence, and that's going to mean Mila is still alive for the time being. Poseidon, the follow-up onto Smack. This is looking like Purdue are just running away with this. But there we go. Stakes with a good flick, and we'll take down Mila. Oh, the double. Brilliant shot onto Goose. Got to give it up to Stakes there. Great job making this one look a little bit more achievable. With 15 seconds left, the Thermite on the balcony going to have to contend with this Mute who's playing this very close angle with the SMG-11. Going to push in with 9 bullets in the gun, and that's not going to work out for him. Poseidon with the double. Stakes going to be the last man alive, but at the end of the day, Hangman proves to be the last offender that he's going to have to work around, and work around him. He did not, and that's going to be Purdue solidifying the 4-2 scoreline going into the side switch.
Once again, KSU is putting on a masterclass on how to execute in the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the round, but then they start to get ahead of themselves. They start to make mistakes, and their entire attack starts to degrade after that snowball. So hopefully they're able to make those adaptations if we go into map number 3. Now it's going to be the change up for both these teams. It's going to be KSU's turn. It is their turn to be on defense, and the problem was in map number 1, they were far too passive. They basically allowed Purdue to set up multi-angle crossfires and basically bully their way into the bomb site. So hopefully KSU has a contingency plan for that.
To me, Purdue feels like a team that they don't waste time when they know they're beat in certain areas. So if they struggle opening the CCTV wall early on, I would not be surprised if we see a complete pivot from them and they decide to do a master bedroom take and pressure on the cache side. You know, this is also a common strategy we see. Sometimes entire teams devote all their utility. They'll just push in from Jacuzzi Wall. They'll open that up. They'll clear through logistics, clear through construction, and use that pressure to get a cache plant down instead of focusing on B, the more stereotypical push, I would say. But Purdue, really, they could do whatever they really want at this point. But really, right now, they're winning their gunfights, and they're proving that when it comes down to the wire, they are the better team right now. So it's going to be up to KSU. Yes, the defense of this map generally has an advantage as it is defender-sided, but you can't count Purdue out here, and nor can you count KSU out. I'm sure we're going to see some pretty spicy moments in these closing rounds here, and I cannot wait to see how KSU are able to stall out this Purdue attack as long as they can.
Well, Mila's going to do Mila things and start to push her way into the
and
bomb
now,
side.
With about 2 minutes 30, the attacking pressure, just getting through that information phase as usual, slapping those drones down and getting all that knowledge. But they're going to have to contend with several roamers. We've got the Valkyrie playing from below, and the Bandit, that's going to be Stakes. He's going to be playing in main hall right now, working his way back into lounge. I'm loving this roam play from KSU, and if they get pretty aggressive with it, I think it'll be a great way to catch Purdue off guard.
Well, what will Bandit be able to do, though? He hasn't been shown as of yet, as you were highlighting, but Mila's going to be tangoing with death, as it can be mono and mono for the time being. But the attackers need to do something. They don't have time on their side. The drone is going to confirm Stakes' location. He can't actually rotate away. He's stuck on an island, because if he rotates to the main door, he'll be shut on down and gunned on down. So he's going to have to utilize his nitro cell and rotate away. Fortunately for him, Smack is on the other side of the bomb site, holding those central stairs, but it might not matter as the attackers have the entire side of master bedroom. This is one of their primary avenues of pushing on through. We are constantly highlighting 180-degree executes and 180-degree crossfires, but you have to do more than just construction wall. You're going to have to open up main breach all the way on the east, and you're going to have to push underneath if you want to be successful. Now, in theory, you can do a garage execute, and mute is all the way looking north, so it could work in theory if you're able to pounce quick enough.
Purdue is doing the exact adaptation that I expected we'd see from them. They haven't even contested CCTV wall for 1 second. Their entire push has come straight from master bedroom side. Hangman will find that onto Smack, removing that roam presence. They'll still have one to contend with, though, and that will be Stakes on the Bandit. He'll be in lounge, and Hangman going to get into an engagement with him in just a moment here. He'll swing the doorway, aware of his position. The spray comes out, and Stakes will come out on top, downing Hangman. Unfortunate that Hangman wasn't able to find that one. Looks like he saw him well before, but it was only Stakes' head peeked out over that little ledge there. But with 30 seconds left, the defender is now completely aware of where this push is coming from, but the push is getting very aggressive. We've got the sledge and the ace, work their way up into construction, and this wall has been opened. The sightlines have been established, so Smoke and Jaeger and Bandit now have pushed back, moved back onto yellow stairs. Milo will find one, a brilliant headshot onto McCool from across the map there, and Poseidon with the follow-up, that's another. So now it's a 4v2. Never mind, it's a 4v1, a 3v1, as Stepbro will trade that one out, but Stepbro now left to defend all on his own with 1 HP running around frantically, and Providence proving dominant over Stepbro, and he will win the fight, and Purdue win their first attacking round in what could be a troubling half for KSU if they don't step it up here.
A heartbreaking round for KSU. They got what they needed. They wasted a lot of time, and they actually forced Purdue to do a very linear execute where they had no crossfire potential whatsoever. KSU stepped all the way back into red, which is very common with this type of execute. The problem is when attackers actually pounce on this execute, they tend to sprint on in, which is an audio cue for you as a defender to get up and actively challenge those positions. Instead, KSU is trying to play like a jack-in-a-box. They stood up and had their head removed because they're playing far too aggressive. When your defender's stuck in red, you have one option, and that is force the attackers to come to you. Because if you go to them, they're going to shut you on down because they're all looking in exactly the same direction, and that is currently where you're standing.
But here we are. It's round number 8, and KSU, it's not over for them yet. They need to win this one, though, because if Purdue take this to match point, we're going to have to see a flawless defense from KSU for like 4 rounds in a row. That's going to be a very daunting task. I'm not going to put it beyond KSU to do this, though. We've seen them very strong in these positions before, but it just comes down, at the end of the day, if you're not winning your gunfights, you're not going to win the round. And Purdue proving, the prominent force right now thus far, but it's round 8. It's anyone's game, and KSU, if they win this one, we could see this one going into overtime, but they're going to have to make some serious adaptations as this Purdue attack seems just so well planned, so smart, and we're just seeing, them push all those roamers out early, and it appears we do have a very similar roaming presence, and that will be Mango and Smack, I believe.
So, Jay Wills, do you see that Valkyrie camera right between the 2 little rafters of Secret Stairs? That camera is genius. So not only can you see East Window, you can also see West Door, as well as all the way down to Ginny Box and above Ginny Box at that, which means you can actually see all the way into church. It is such a small little camera, but it is so genius. Those are those giga brain plays, I think that's what the kids call it nowadays, that really separate teams, right? And we're going to have to see if that camera is able to provide information. Because if Purdue is going to do the same linear push that KSU did, that camera is going to be basically useless. But hopefully, Purdue is actually going to set up their 180-degree crossfires, and that's going to force the camera to be very relevant.
What we just saw go down here was Hangman pretty much on his own clearing all of CCTV and clearing rafters early on, and that's very impressive. The roamer's not able to stall as much time as they would have liked to, but Stakes is the last one, holding that angle onto the garage there from Oil Pit, trying to find anybody. But right now, the attackers are going to pivot around, and try to move their attack more of a main stairs side. We see them scrambling around all over the place, those orange outlines darting here and there, because they are thinking it's time to pivot. They're not going to force it down Oil Pit like they were maybe teasing before, because they know that Stakes was around there and they didn't want to deal with him. We see the sledge coming into the bar area, and we see the rest of the attack really mounting to force on this kitchen. Providence with the angles from above, and Stepbro getting caught out when he was not prepared. So now the kitchen hatch is going to be opened by the ace. Going to have to be using 2 Selmas for that, and especially with that nerf he's had recently, those Selmas are less valuable than before. But Stakes here, going to try to maybe do some little bit of rotate action, but actually he will indeed fall back to site. And with under a minute to go, the attackers look like they're gearing up for more of a kitchen side take and possibly down main stairs and into dirt, as well as dirt has been opened.
The thing is, the attackers have forced the entire defense of KSU to once again be stuck all the way to the east. But KSU is going to realize and make that adaptation and start to flood and play more of their bomb sites. Here comes a very scary and very linear push all the way down through dirt tunnel. The problem is there is a soft barricade on that door that is going to be a lot of information as soon as it opens down, and it's just basically going to be a myriad of death as it's a 9-player lobby. The attackers need to pounce. They need to spring onto the bomb site, and here it comes. There goes the bodies dropping on down as Smack is going to find even more kills, making a quad pistol in hand. He's going to be looking for that final member. It is going to be Mila with no hope of grabbing the bomb. Shut on through. No ace potential whatsoever, but it doesn't matter when you can win the round.
What a play there from the Valkyrie, the massive 4K. Purdue just took too long, I gotta say. They just didn't have the angles open. They found one vertical pick, but in the end, it didn't matter. They jumped onto site without knowing where the defenders were placed, and the Valkyrie, that was smack, just absolutely giving Purdue the smackdown. I know that was probably an expected joke, so apologies there. But honestly, great work from the defense of KSU, just playing time. And you have such a luxury of time when you're on defense. You can wait and wait and wait. And all that waiting for Purdue ended up just them walking into Smack's gun and ending their lives there.
Now, where will we do battle here in round number 9? Could this be the penultimate round, or will this be KSU inching us that much closer to being successful and tying us out? And it's going to be CCTV. We saw Purdue do a unique and kind of not atypical style execute where you go through construction, set up no crossfires whatsoever, but just win your engagements. That was all stemming from the fact that the attackers could not deal with the electric units over on the main east breach. So we're going to need to see Purdue make that adaptation. They need to do their due diligence in opening up that east wall, setting up their 100 crossfires, and actually going for the executes. Because if you allow KSU to be far too passive, well, they tend to win those engagements, even though that wasn't the case in round 7.
And now that we're on the CCTV site, we're going to probably see something very similar to what we saw 2 rounds ago with Purdue coming out on top. But KSU proved that they're able to adapt to those aggressive Purdue pushes. But we're going to have to see how they adapt here on a site that they've already been unable to defend the first time. We didn't see them pivot over to Jim like we might have expected, given that how strong Purdue was on the CCTV side here. But right now, it seems that Purdue are opting for a very similar take. We've got 3 players outside of Jacuzzi Wall looking to take from the master side, and that is what worked for them so well last time with KSU. They were so focused on that CCTV wall breach, which never came, that the utility really wasn't there when it came to this construction side push.
Well, it's going to be the attackers now relinquished from their spawn and working their way all the way into the map. They have control of master bedroom, and they're going to have control of the mound. Smack is going to go on knocking, but he's going to be knocked all the way down. And once again, KSU is going to get far too aggressive, and it's going to cost them the early pick once again. Now, Stakes is in a position to get free kills if he isn't droned out. The problem is Purdue has really been doing a wonderful job on doing their due diligence with their drones. His head is spotted. It's going to be shot and removed from his body. Another unbridled aggressive peek coming through from Stakes, and KSU will not be in control of this round. They're going to have a miraculous play if they want to win.
Smack there, not able to work his magic this round like he was last time, as Hangman will find a brilliant shot onto Mango. The impact trick attempting to coming out here on the cash side wall, but I don't know. It feels like a little too late. Stepbro will get one, though, onto Poseidon, and that Aldo with enough bullets to kill 5 attacking squads and not just the 4 remaining players. So they're not completely over yet. They can still handle this one, but right now it's going to be up to that attack right now to get into sight. They have all the time, though, in the world. There's 50 seconds remaining, and even though this looks like something of a last-second execute, it is very much not. And another kill coming out from Providence. The Alda in hand. Sepra will find another, but he'll have to find more than 2. He'll have to find 5, and that's not going to be it. And the Hangman will stop the clutch potential and win the round from Purdue in commanding fashion.
Well, we were calling that round potentially the penultimate round, and it could be the case as we currently find ourselves with Purdue on match point and series point. It is now KSU's turn to win the remainder 3 rounds to deliver us to OT, and then thus they're going to have to win overtime if they want to be successful and drive us all the way over to map number 3. But right now, they're going to be reattempting cache CCTV for the 3rd time. They don't have an answer for this bomb site because Purdue is just winning their engagements. KSU is far too aggressive, and they're going to need to back that aggression down just a little bit. And something that concerns me is the fact that KSU is unwilling to go to the tertiary bomb site, which is Gym, which means they don't have a good understanding of how this map is played because they don't have all of the bomb sites in their portfolio.
Admittedly, I gotta say, this choice to go to CCTV again, after 2 unsuccessful defenses of it with the match on the line, is admittedly a questionable decision from KSU, but I'm gonna let them make the real calls here. Of course, they are the players, they know what's best, but at the end of the day, this one could prove the wrong decision, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Purdue can just do what they know. They can go with their strat book. They just look at what they've done the previous 2 times we've seen this site, and if they are able to just get that decisive push, it's not going to matter what KSU can bring here. It's just going to be over just like that, and that's going to be this one. But you never know. KSU have shown, and Smack in particular, with the 13 kills on this one so far, has shown that they can absolutely do it when 1 or 2 players step up in those right situations. So Smack here going to have to lead his team. He is the IGL. He's going to have to step up and lead his boys to a victory here if they're going to have any chance in taking this to our decider map.
So Jay Wills, it looks like we've done some oopsies as a casters. We didn't unmute our clean feed. So that means the entire time we were taking breaks between our 30 seconds on and off, we should have been making gun sounds, the pew pew pews, the nitro cells, and all that fun stuff. So we failed our audience right now. But fear not, we have unmuted that stream, so it's gonna be back, and you don't have to listen to our voices make very bad and high-pitched gun sounds for the time being. But how will the attackers push on through? Where will they come from? It's going to be a jacuzzi execute once again. Stakes, he is over here at bathroom, but is Smack who's going to deliver his own smackdown. He's been punished far too often. And it's going to be a wall bang headshot as KSU is going to find even more kills. The dry peaks from Purdue is not working out whatsoever. 1 minute already burned. It's a 1v3. What happened to the lobby?
What in the world did we just witness, man? KSU just said, screw anything we've been doing at this point. Let's take the fight to Purdue. And oh my goodness, was that a disaster for Purdue. They were not ready for such unbridled aggression from Smack and Stakes there. And while they were eventually cut down in the end, wow, what a brutal switcheroo there. And Purdue now on the back foot. You know, after we laid into KSU for picking this site again, they're going to make us both regret saying that. And it's going to be up to Mila to do the rest of the work. She's going to have to find 3 heavily set up defenders anchoring hard in sight, and with full HP and all with the ability to take him down. Mila's going to have quite a tough time. Does have the diffuser. I'm not going to count him out yet, but this one is tough. The drone will go out. The swing is going to come in here on this doorway, but the Toxic Babes will do what they do best, and that is delay. Mila going to get on his drone inside the smoke. Going to take quite a bit of damage there. That's an oopsie, but here it is. The push coming in, the spray through the wall, and that will not connect with anybody, but really looking hopeless at this point. The spray continues, the pre-fire continues, but the Alda going to have to contend with that. The Pokeballs coming out from the Maestro, not able to connect. But that's going to allow another Toxic Babe to go off and time to be stalled. Mila just hoping that the KSU defenders are going to play like children and swing out and try to play for the kill, but they know better, and Stepbro knows better, but he will just take Mila down with the Alda, and KSU win that one in a dominating fashion.
An important round for KSU. Is imperative for them to win this bomb site, and then now the basement has opened up for them once again. They were able to win this bomb site because of a 4K in the round from Valkyrie, and that's something that might not be able to repeat twice in a row. The attackers were far too slow. They didn't understand how Father Time was going to be a factor in this round, and they just pushed far too linearly. I don't think Purdue is going to make those same mistakes. But both these attacking rosters do need to change something up. You cannot do pure central stairs executes. And if you have to write that on chalkboard a million times, do not do central stairs executes 1,000 times in a row. Please start doing that. Now, I have to give Purdue credit. They did not only a kitchen hatch drop, but they also attempted going through Dirt Tunnel. The problem was Dirt Tunnel wasn't the answer because it was being watched from B1.
Well, KSU is proving us wrong time and time again. They keep on hanging in this match, even when it seems like they may be struggling. And Smack right now, just absolutely popping off. 15-8, supported by Stakes at 8-8. I mean, these guys are just playing so well and are leading their team to a couple of really strong rounds here and there. But once again, we're headed to the basement, and this could go either way. We saw KSU win, I believe, the last time they were on this site. But it's going to be a tough one, for sure. And with a match point on the line, Purdue, we're totally within their rights to take this win. We're going to see if they opt for a different take than they did last time. Like you said, the main stairs push was not working for them. But interested to see how they adapt, knowing that that was unsuccessful before.
The attackers not only have to clear that second floor, they have to work their way down to the first floor. Hopefully they're able to do this in a time-efficient manner. Hangman is going to be the first member of the roster Purdue to start to open that up. But he's a little bit aware that there could be somebody playing on red stairs. Now, utilizing our God vision, we know that's not the case. And we know that all the members of KSU are somewhere near the basement. Now, Valkyrie is going to be the closest member of the KSU roster to walk up those stairs and start to get aggressive. What they're going to play their lives, and they're going to play the time as best as possible and force Purdue to basically waste it on their own time because they're not doing their due diligence clearing the map.
But the due diligence right now is coming out. We see the drones just flooding upstairs, and after that, see, they succeeded with that clear. They're now going to work them down red stairs and try to identify where Smack is playing, and Providence will open us up with the first kill of this round onto Mango, finding that headshot there. I believe that was a brilliant vertical angle into Armory from Kitchen. That's a great one to start off. But if you think back a couple of rounds ago, this is the same way the round started off before. We had the entry frag coming out from Hangman in Kitchen, but it didn't matter. So Purdue are going to have to keep up this pressure and persist. Otherwise, I know that KSU have it in them to bring this one back, even though they are down a person. We see the Sledge in bar doing that drone work for his teammates, who are now working down main stairs. Now, Chief, I know you said that you didn't want to see this, but it seems that the main stairs push will be coming out.
Well, attempt central stairs 1,000 times, and maybe Purdue will be able to win their Monte Carlo simulation eventually. That's what happens when you run that time and time again over thousands of iterations. Hangman's going to be attempting to work his way down through Dirt Tunnel once again. But does he know Stepbro is hiding on a very tight prone angle? He's going to spot the head, be able to win the advantage through Peeker's advantage. A nice shot by Hangman, and now that's going to put Purdue just slightly and even more of an advantage. An N+2 advantage can still be impressive, but shut on down now an N+1 for Smack, as he's going to be hunting for more with his MPX. But his position is known. He has no potential way of rotating away. Mila should pounce on that player, but the audio cues, the drone calls have not come on through, which means Smack is going to be able to continue to be very aggressive, as Stakes is going to find himself a kill. Mila's going to walk on through, a flip to the wrong direction, and now it's KSU's turn to be in control this round.
And with 15 seconds left, it's time for the push to come out. We got one swinging into dirt, and that's going to be Poseidon dropping Stakes. So it's a 2v2. Poseidon will now swing into Armory, assisted by the drop from Kitchen. But the drop from Kitchen will be felled by Smack with a melee kill. And now it's up to Poseidon. But the wall glove is so suppressive, and he cannot sprint. And he's going to be stuck in the mud and will not be able to find that last kill. So KSU staying in this one, just keeping on, as they say, and they are not out. It is 5-6, still match point, but KSU looking strong, keeping that momentum from those previous rounds.
Stuck in the mud with KSU. That could be its song lyric in itself. And the problem is, Purdue is going to be attacking on Gym Bedroom, a site that KSU seems a little bit timid about going through. And well, statistically, this is still the best bomb site for the attackers to win. It is still slightly defender-sided, but less so compared to its other three maps or other three rotations. Well, Barroom Stock isn't played it whatsoever, so I guess the other two iterations of the bomb sites. And how will the attackers be able to really capitalize on their hard breach gantry? They're going to have to open up the west wall, and they're going to have to open up the east wall. They have plenty of hard breach to do so, especially with that introduction of Ace, and you have one additional wall you can open up compared to the thermite charges.
And like you said, this is the first time we're seeing KSU go to this site, proving that they are not very comfortable on this one. But it's the first time we're going to see either team, well, at least on this half, attack this site or defend this site. So we really have no idea what to expect. Purdue have yet to showcase what they have in store for the attack on this site. So we're going to see the usual utility go down, the wub-wubs go in play, and an extended horizontal hold from the defense. They're going to reinforce cache wall. The question is, how many defenders are they going to put in the cache, and for how long are they going to bother holding it? Because sometimes you got to play your life, and you don't want to worry about that position for too long.
The attackers have opened up Dirt Tunnel, which means they're going to be starting to push their way through the basement. What is the idea behind this? Are they going to be going up the central stairs this time? Which, hey, that is a perfect change of pace that I'd love to see. Or are they just trying to get map control? Now, some rosters have buried pulses down here to provide as much information as possible. Now, that's not the case for KSU, and that could be a potential why you enter in through basement. But honestly, maybe the attackers just want as much real estate as possible before they start to walk up a different staircase. And this time, it is going to be not only the garage staircase, but as well as the red staircase. And there is a lot of impact grenades over on the southeast side of the map. And Purdue's going to have to deal with that. They're going to deal with that through vertical destruction of Ash.
What they're also going to have to deal with is a sneaky Stakes coming up of main stairs right now. He was in basement on that roam, and I do not know if he has been droned out. But right now, we're still just getting into this one. The pressure still coming out onto the cache side, and the vertical play from Mila is now what the defenders are going to have to worry about. It's going to be Mango caught out with that angle, but nobody's going to be actually taking down too much. Mango only losing about 25 HP. I'm curious about where a Jaeger is positioned. It's Stakes, just vibing an armory, really not bothering to push yet. Now that's very disciplined roam. He's just got to make sure that that flank comes in before the push comes out, because if the push comes in and he's not there on site to support, it won't matter. But Poseidon will find the first kill. The opening pick, once again, going to Purdue. But we've seen time and time again that that doesn't really matter. But now, cache control goes over to Purdue, as now they have full control of that side of the map and have pushed the rest of the defenders over into the site proper.
Well, we're highlighting people pushing through basement. That's going to happen, but it's not going to matter. Let's talk about here and now. Providence is going to find a headshot of his own. And here comes Stakes on the flank. He's going to be attempting to find the second. Unable to land that headshot, though. He's going to be telegraphing his position, telegraphing his rotation, and forced to move to a completely different avenue. The attackers are still in control of this round, just temporarily, though, as McCool is going to find one with his M590. The buckshot's going to go down range, but there's no going to be home. Nobody at that zip code for the time being. Now they're in the zip code. The M590 is going to land its kill, and back to equal man kill with a 6-man lobby. But poor SMG 11 Bro is going to be on his back, and effectively a 2v2. Stop Step Bro is going to find one. It's going to be KSU 1 kill away from delivering us into overtime. Providence is going to have to find some kills. It's now just a 1v1. But does he know the location of the player in Big Bathroom? He's going to spawn him. He's going to sprint challenge, holding down W, but it's not going to work out for him one bit. KSU deliver us to OT.
Oh my goodness, Stakes! What a play from him, proving the MVP of that round with a brilliant flank, not only able to get one perfect headshot onto the Purdue attack, he was able to provide so much pressure that Purdue were terrified about for the remainder of that round. And because they're a bit flustered in construction, worrying about their flank, they had to run around frantically and find some kills, and they were not able to find enough. Stakes very maturely rotating around to main stairs to take up a position in bathroom. And my, oh my, did that work so well. And KSU have really brought this back, and I am so impressed with the way they've turned this around and taking us into match point. It will be KSU starting on defense, and that means the momentum is going to be in their favor.
Before Stakes rudely interrupted me with getting that kill, I was highlighting early on that Ash pushed through basement, and then Stakes worked his way back down. He took control of basement, and the critical mistakes that Ash made, that was Mila playing that operator, is he picked up his flank drone that was over there in Blue Ginny. If that drone remained contained in that position, Stakes would have been just medium rare instead of well done, because he got the big kills. That's the most important thing. You always have to keep your flank drones. I know they can be used elsewhere throughout the map, droning out information, but you knew where everybody was except for one roamer. The flank drone would have caught that roamer.
And this is a site that Purdue have yet to attack victoriously on their attacking half. They've lost to it twice, and they're going to really need to pull this one out because they are only going to have the ability to defend one time. This is overtime, and KSU have selected to be on defense here, and that means they have a pretty sizable advantage given how defender-sided this map can be. I'm interested to see if we have any roam, but roam appears that it's not going to be much of a factor for now with all 5 defenders already back on site with only 30 seconds down in the round. So what this means for Purdue is they should be able to get those vertical angles early on and try to find some picks. We've continuously seen them get that first initial frag, that impact frag, but it doesn't matter in the end if KSU and those clutch plays can just pull it out in the end. So I gotta commend KSU for sticking with it, even though they keep losing players early on. But right now, that early pick has yet to be found by the Purdue attack, despite opening these vertical angles and taking down some of that valuable utility. No picks just yet.
Save Chiefs sanity. Stop pushing central stairs. It didn't work for Purdue, and it didn't work for KSU. So hopefully they're able to make those adaptations and push through a different avenue. And lo and behold, Purdue's actually set up to do exactly that. They're going to be pushing through blue box. That is their 180-degree crossfire. That means the player over here in Ginny box will be unable to challenge the execute from central stairs. And the player over here by B1 or box number 1, he's also going to be forced to fight a 2-front battle. Is he going to challenge long hallway to central stairs, or is he going to be challenging the Ginny box? That is a huge predicament he's going to find himself in. And if he puts himself in bad micro positioning, he's going to be gunned down from both of those angles, and particularly the kitchen hatch.
But here we are with a minute to go and everyone still alive. It's Hangman, the attacker of choice, to pressure down into oil pit and into blue, but Smack, aware of his position, and will just eliminate Poseidon. Still Hangman to contend with, but Hangman will also get taken down with a beautiful shot from Mango. So it's a 5v3, and Purdue are completely floundering at this point. Smack with a double. Can he find 3? He's going to swing this angle with the deagle. He will get eliminated as Goose will take him down, saying, not a chance, Smack. I know you found 2, but that is going to be it. But it's a 2v4. Purdue have quite a bit to climb. Providence will find 1 and go for the plant, but the defense will be aware, and Stakes will take him down. It's a 1v3. It's Goose left to contend. 1 HP now as he is pushing up into blue and into armory. Can he do this? Bearing 9 in hand with 15 seconds left. Here he goes, but no, it's not gonna happen, and Stakes will deliver once again. Stake and Smacks just putting an absolute dominating performance on this Purdue attack.
Well, what on earth? This shouldn't
Wait
be right.
a minute. That's not right.
We just had an oopsie in the lobby. You're supposed to go to 3 rounds in overtime since we don't do unlimited OT. But, you know, things happened. We're going to probably be diving back over to caster cams momentarily, as you're going to see our glorious faces once again. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. wow, what a phenomenal showing by KSU. They were down 3 rounds as Purdue was sitting on OT. They never gave up. They won their engagements, and here we are. They are now match point in OT.
This has been some incredible play from KSU. They're bringing this back, and I mean, I know you and I were not expecting this for sure because Purdue have looked so dominant, but KSU has reached another level. They flicked the switch, and Stakes and Smacks have come out of nowhere and have just been dropping so many essential kills and saving the game for this team. We are going to make sure this lobby is getting set up again. Apologies for this quick delay, folks. But Chief, I got to say, this is an unfortunate timing for this to happen for KSU because they have won so many rounds in a row. The momentum is on their side. And so Purdue here, they have an opportunity to regroup. They have the opportunity to talk about it a little bit. And maybe this pause will be exactly what they need to switch this around and get the momentum back on their side.
I'm so glad you started highlighting that. We hear about teams flipping routers for the tactical timeout where they need the 5-10 second or 5-10 minutes to chat with their coach. Now, I guess you could call it the admin hit the router this time, but as you're highlighting, it's Purdue's advantage because they're the map downer, or they have the map advantage, but they're currently a round down into overtime. They're going to be going over to defense, and then they can coordinate with their coach as well as the 5-men actually in the lobby about how they're planning on attacking into Catch CCTV. Now, if we've seen how basically KSU has been defending most of these rounds, they're terrified of Gym Bedroom, even though they won it. So it's most likely round 15 going to be Cast CCTV. You can now create a strategy on the fly using these 5-10 minutes and learn how to counter and execute on Cast CCTV.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a good defense from KSU in the basement, but we have seen them waver, just like you said, on that top floor. And I'm just taking a look at my notes here about how Purdue were successful on their defense, just to guess which site they're going to choose. They were back and forth on most of them. They lost basement the first time, but were able to win it the second time, and then went on a little bit of a win streak, taking CCTV and Gym for their own. So I would expect to see Purdue here go CCTV, given that the coordinated KSU attack on basement has been a pretty strong factor that they're going to have to contend with there. But you never know. They may try to pull out something surprising. Maybe we'll see a Gym Bedroom push, but I doubt it.
You're right. Gym Bedroom is an option, but KSU just seems petrified by that bomb site. It took them 6 rounds to go there. Now they won it in miraculous fashion because, well, mistakes were being made. And we highlight this time and time again. The team that makes the least amount of mistakes tends to be the team that wins.
You're absolutely right. And we haven't seen too many mistakes from either team, at least glaring mistakes. Both teams have just been good or been better in every round. And this is the kind of collegiate Rainbow Six Siege that we love to see, Chief. I mean, this has been very, 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 very strong from both teams. And there haven't been like any childish mistakes or completely amateurish decisions from some players. They've been calculated, they've been strategic, and they've been making it happen.
So let's start talking about the macro strategy, especially with hard breachers. We've seen both Ace and Thermite being brought out in this map. Now, there are pros and cons to both these operators. Thermite can open up walls in a faster fashion, especially if you're dealing with an active bandit trick. Kite is not a factor because he's currently banned, so the only thing you really have to deal with is a player getting aggressive with those bandit charges. That's going to be a huge factor on Gym Bedroom,
as long as that's
especially if you're unable to shut down those potential castle barricades that are going to be placed over in Gym window as well as Gym door frame. But we've been seeing these teams also run Ace. The advantageous thing about Ace is the fact that you can open up 3 walls compared to the 2 walls of Thermite. Now, sure, those walls are a little bit smaller, but sometimes you just need more holes.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct. And I believe we'll be getting into this one in just a few moments. But, if we're talking about one particular element of Purdue attack, and we're not going to have to stall that anymore, we're actually ready to go. So we will be getting right into it, and we'll be starting up in just a moment. We appreciate you sticking with us through these technical difficulties, but they happen. And like Chief said, the admin flip the router upside down, and that is going to be exactly what happened here tonight. It happens. You got to chalk it up to some technical issues, but we're going to get right into it, and it won't be much of a problem.
Honestly, that's my favorite thing when you hear like T1 players just, ranting on Twitter, be like, yo, this dude Mute was already banned. Mute wasn't even a factor. How does we have a mute bug in this lobby? There's no way you should be calling a rehost for this, but per rules, you can call a rehost for just about anything. You can say that the sky is now red, no longer blue, and thus that's a justifiable reason for a rehost. Or you just, throw your router out your window. That's also a possibility. But I love the sound bug idea. Mute's not even a factor in this round. He's already banned, but yet you have the mute bug. But we don't need to talk about that. It's going to be round 14. It's a cash CCTV hold.
Yep, here it comes from Purdue. The defense that they've done so strongly with before will likely see Mila take a very similar position, holding in rafters. Hangman has been the big roamer, though, and has been playing downstairs and had some really great late flanks. But now KSU are going to be aware of that. And with that knowledge, they should be able to catch that out if they are careful. But once again, we know how suffocating Purdue can be and how much they can stall you and make you, get a bit flustered when it comes down to your late push. And that exact strong play from the anchors, we talked about this a while ago, will enable the roam play from, I expect, Hangman here to just work out so beautifully.
But Purdue, what are they going to do differently? Are they going to be putting more floor holes over in the A-bomb site, trying to actively fish for a member of KSU walking in through stocks? If you're able to kill Zofia or Ash straight off the bat, that is going to be explosive utilities as well as potentially stun grenades or flashbangs instantaneously removed, and that means the active bandit trick will be able to persist for a little bit longer. Now, Purdue is the roster that actually struggled with opening up this wall through vertical pressure, and hopefully they're able to understand where they're going wrong and actually exploit that now that they're on attack or defense. The problem is this is their one and only defensive showing here in map number 2 since we're now in OT.
And yes, in OT, all of those kills from the leaderboard going to be completely taken away. But we've seen this one go down, and we know who the players are. And Smack, as we're just talking about how powerful he has been, he will pick up the early frag onto Hangman. Chief, this is concerning if you're Purdue. This is not a position they're usually in. A man down so early on. Purdue have not proven that they are comfortable in this situation, as they have been the ones who are on top almost every single time. So KSU here on the stronger position right now, and again gonna go for the pressure on the CCTV wall. The bandits are coming out. Will it be successful? I believe it was, and that's gonna be huge, removing that exothermic charge from the wall. And that's a great play from Providence with the absolute chutzpah to just run over the floor breach and send it and make that happen.
Sometimes when you utilize your vertical pressure and you remove the bandit, you actually have to play that angle because, well, bandit can just walk up, place his charge on down, and then all of your hard work was for nothing. So get shut on down. But eventually, KSU is able to be successful. They have opened up the East Breach. This is their long angle. This is their crossfire. But Smack is now going to be on his back. He is shut on down, finished off with the pistol of Providence. That was the answer back. It was about 60 seconds late, but nonetheless, it's now an 8-man lobby. Either one of these rosters can be successful, but currently it's KSU with the majority of those real estate control.
And here come McCool and Stepbro pushing in a garage, but Mango will be dropped, and that's going to be Stepbro finding the refrag, though, onto Mila. And going to get the res. Now, that is massive. Going to have a 4v3 advantage and the massive health advantage going into the closing minute. Very, very good awareness from Stepbro, getting the refrag and the trade out onto Mila to prevent the Ash from going down for good. But here it comes. We're going to get pressure up rafters, and that is where the diffuser will be coming from. Going to have to deal with the mute playing on top of red and 2 players in cash. The drones going to be following right in front of the attack to give them as much knowledge as they can, but the drone's going to get removed, and as the drone utility is actually still pretty strong from KSU, they really have time to get a bit of knowledge here with 30 seconds remaining. You see the flashes coming out, trying to suss out the defenders to their positions, but Poseidon going to make sure to play passive. We actually see the plant going down. C4 comes out. Will it connect? No, it will not. The plant will stick, but Mango will get the kill onto Poseidon, and McCool, after the successful plant, is left to do this one with the remainder of his team in a very, very good position. Providence and Goose left to do this one to give Purdue the chance to take this one to our 15th round, but it's looking very strong from KSU. A near impossible retake situation because you have a player on rappel. Here comes a bandit pushing into sight. McCool's going to challenge, supported by Mango, and Mango with the double. And that is going to be the map. Oh my goodness, KSU, what an unbelievable comeback.
They said the 15th seed would have no contest in this round. They would be unable to bloody the nose of the 2nd seed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, KSU has proved their haters wrong. They have won map number 2. Now, it was their map pick, but they're going to be delivering us over to map number 3. We're going to need to see every single round across all these maps to determine who is going to be moving on and moving out of the best of 16 rounds. Now, we saw a double nitrocell coming in from the side of Purdue. They should have coordinated better because the first nitrocell blew up and destroyed the second one in midair. The second one would have landed on that reinforcement over by the rotation of garage rafters, and that would have killed the planter. You have to coordinate. You have to communicate. One small mistake cost them a map.
I gotta say, KSU, where did that come from, man? I mean, it was so strong and calculating for the last 5 rounds we just saw. And unbelievably strong work from KSU to take that one and send us into our decider. But we will be taking a quick break and take a quick breather before we get into our final map. So please stick with us. This one is going to be exciting to close it out. So we'll see you just after this.
Oh, you make me wanna talk back to you. Say it like that. If I hate you, then find someone new. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill. Oh yeah, take you like a pill. Say sorry. Oh, maybe I'll leave. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to CR6. This is the closed bracket at round 16. We currently find ourselves in game number 3. Both KSU as well as Purdue has won their own map pick. So we're going to dive over to the cider here on Cafe. Jay Willis, how do you think this map's going to go?
This one could go either way. We've seen KSU and Purdue put up incredible numbers on both sides, on both maps. I mean, this has been a thrilling match for sure. I don't think anybody has expected it to be this close. We thought Purdue, the 2 seed in this bracket, was going to absolutely trash the 15 seed, but KSU has proved us wrong, has proved everybody wrong. And you'll love to see that when a team like KSU is able to come back. They won just, what was that, 5 rounds in a row when it came down to the wire? I mean, that is so impressive from them to bring it back when it mattered the most. But Cafe, we'll talk about how it goes both ways, both times. It's such a impactful map. There's a lot of action. It comes down to those gunfights at the end of the day, but you'll see a lot of the typical setups. You'll see the pixel angle on the top floor. We talk about that so many times, how important that pixel angle is to holding the bar and cocktail site. But talk to me about how Reading Room is factored in as a tertiary bomb site.
So Reading Room has had this roller coaster of win rates. In stage 1 of NAL, it was actually the worst bomb site on this map, and it had a 33% win rate for the defense. That is a mind-boggling statistic. And then towards the end of stage 2, it came back to being more defender favored. I have no idea how it was statistically the best bomb site in Pro League Season 11 across the entire map pool went to one of the worst bomb sites in basically 3 weeks. Still can't wrap my brain around that, but nonetheless, you're still required as a defender to do something called a stage roam, which means you put some of your utility over on the west side, snipe away a drone, walk your way back to the next stage, and so on and so forth till you rotate all the way down to the bomb site. But it sounds like all of our teams have confirmed that they are ready to do battle here on our third map, which is Cafe. So let's dive straight into it, a full send.
Let's go into this one. I cannot wait to see what these teams are going to bring out for us. I'm sure it's going to be flashy. We've seen so many incredible plays. I'm going to talk about Smack, Stakes. We'll talk about Providence and Poseidon putting up ridiculous numbers on that last map, just proving that they can lead their team when it matters. So here we are going into our ban phase here. And what kind of bans do we usually see on Cafe, Chief?
Well, Thatcher probably instantaneously gone. No surprise, he was the first ban at map number 1. Map number 2. Hey! what do you know? Map
Well,
number
there he
three.
is.
Thatcher is gone, but who will be joining him? We saw Monty in map number 1. We saw Maverick in map number 2, and it could be an Ace. It could be another hard breacher, but a lot of people are liking to remove Ace because you're removing opening up walls from a very safe distance, and there he goes. Ace is instantaneously removed, and that probably means the next defender ban, it's going to be Mira, one of the most oppressive operators on this entire map, because she turns Piano into no man's land. There's no way for you to push it whatsoever, and there she goes. She's out of here.
You typically see that one out of here, like you said, and coming to this last pick, it varies. Often a Valkyrie, often a Wamai, and there's the Valkyrie as expected. She is just so ridiculously powerful on a map like Cafe, because especially on that balcony on that top floor, a camera positioned anywhere can get sight everywhere, I guess you could say. And that is why we will see her banned, especially when vertical play is so important here. We see a lot of C4s from below, especially when you're attacking into Piano or into Bar from Cigar. And the ban of Valkyrie will assist the attackers in removing that threat from below. But to counter that ban of Valkyrie, often we do see a pulse play when we head to that top floor to get that vertical intel that can become so important.
And Valkyrie is basically that pseudo Echo right now. Echo currently finds himself relegated to a default instantaneously banned because his drones get stuck in the ceiling and cannot be destroyed. So not only are they invisible, but they're indestructible. So they're just basically free information components for the defending teams. And you're just going to be basically red pinging the entire time. Because who cares? You know, you may as well tell them that they're being watched the whole time and just try to wall bang. Now, I guess the counter argument to that is you do have yellow ping, so you don't have to do that. But you may as well cheese the attackers along the way. And speaking about cheesing attackers, we're not going to be starting on the primary bomb site. We're going to be starting on this secondary bomb site all the way down to kitchen. Now, a lot of attacking rosters have really changed up how they want to push this bomb site. The status quo is to take vertical destruction, basically Swiss cheese eyes the entire floor, force the defenders to walk away from their hidey holes. But what baffles me is a lot of attacking rosters, particularly in T1, thus coming down all the way to T3, is electing to do very linear executes all the way through Big Bakery. And, well, there's a lot of utility on the side of Purdue over in Big Bakery, so please, KSU, do a traditional execute from above, please.
And I guess we'll find out in just a moment. We're already going to see breaking open the window towards Christmas here and getting some spraying in there. But we'll see if the attackers rappel all the way to the roof and go for that top-down clear. Because if you don't clear from top-down, I mean, the roamers can just be so brutal, especially when you're trying to get those late-round executes. And that is simply because the stairs on this map, now that especially since the rework, you've added a third staircase, they're positioned in such a way that every single push can be countered from one of those staircases. You know, brown stairs or back stairs sees directly onto a freezer take, and red stairs you see into wedding or small bakery as it's known, or then you can swing right into bakery from there. So that is going to be so powerful if the top-down clear does not come out. But we do see Mango already working their way in, along with Stakes and with Smack. They're going to work their way in top-down, clear out any roamers that they can, and I don't believe they're going to see much resistance other than maybe a retreating defender here or there, as most of the defenders are going to do their best to stay on site.
We're going to see some extension from the roster of Purdue, not only into Big Bakery, but also into VIP. You can play these with deployable shields as well as ADSs and try to waste as much time as possible, but more importantly, waste as much of the attacker's utility as possible, because time and utility go hand in hand, and if you want to be successful with your execute, you're going to have both. You can see the roster of KSU debating on what they want to open up and thus what angles they want to shut on down. They know that there's members of Purdue rotating very near coat check as well as those red stairs. So that avenue of momentum for Purdue will now be shut down.
And here we go, the Swiss cheese begins. Just like you said, free round, and Poseidon will take a fight onto the sledge, but neither of them will connect the shots for now. But what it's like being a defender on this site with the entire roof above you is completely shattered. I mean, it's terrifying. You don't have any position that you can hold. You gotta keep running around, and just like that, Providence will open us up. First kill of the map, removing Mango and taking out the Ash. Valuable utility lost, but it's not too big of a deal. We've got 30 seconds left. Hangman with the follow-up onto Smack. but the nade from Stakes, that's going to be brutal. That would be from above, and Mila will be removed. So now it's up to 4 versus 3, and with 20 seconds left, the pressure from the attackers is nowhere to be seen. Stakes is going to drop to about 10 HP with a C4 from below, and he's going to have to get very aggressive. 10 seconds left with not much headway made. It's almost looking very, very tough for KSU here. Step Bro swinging into prep and trying to find anybody, but the defenders are playing so passive. Goose will find one onto Stakes, and that is going to be it. The time is run out, and KSU never had a chance. Purdue locking down their secondary bomb site with ease.
The thing is, when you take vertical control and you start to swing your sledgehammer, that's great. You've now forced the defense into positions they don't want to be. That's even perfect. But what do you do after that? Well, you have to start to rotate players down staircases, and you have to once again set up your 180-degree crossfire. The attackers did everything up until that step. They were far too focused on just continuously swinging that sledgehammer and not at actually setting up their execute. And the thing is, executes are the hardest thing to do. Most teams are very competent and confident in how they push the first 2 minutes. But what happens in the last 60 seconds, that is where rounds are won and lost.
And, you know, perfect analysis from there, Chief, but it doesn't really matter as we're headed into a quick rehost, so we're going to have to stall for just a bit more time. We've been in this position before. We just did it a couple rounds ago, but you can't read too much into this opening round. But you got to say, Purdue looked so strong early on.
Now, they sometimes call me the crackhead of shields because I love deployable shields, especially when we go to the primary bomb site. That is upstairs in bar. And my lord, you can bring a plethora of deployable shields. You want to bring 5 deployable shields? Chief is going to get hyped. And that sounds crazy, but we've actually seen rosters do that. You put a deployable shield in Pixel. You put one upstairs in toilets. You put one over by rack. You can put one over by luggage or pallets, whatever you want to call it, as well as C1. Those are going to be a lot of fixed positions for the defenders to basically spring up from and actively challenge it. Now, with those 5 deployable shields, it requires you to bring a Goya for that. So 3 operators bring in a deployable shield. It is usually the Wamai, potentially an Ella, maybe a Warden, a Valkyrie too, and that just forces the attackers to play in Utility Consumption Simulator and suffer the consequence of that. And Warden has really seen himself come into this meta because of pop flashbangs. Now, this concept really hasn't come into T3 yet, but basically what you do is you throw a flashbang at the chair or the couch right in front of Pixel. The flashbang bounces and detonates midair, and the most important thing is it doesn't get destroyed by the ADSs behind the shields, or they basically will my pancakes also behind the couch. So if you're able to pop it perfectly, you can flash the Pixel player and somebody playing over in toilets. That's why you bring the Warden.
That is a lot of high IQ play that you just discussed. I don't know if these guys have what it takes to do that. Bouncing a flashbang off a couple of services, I mean, more power to them if they are able to do so. But I'm not gonna confirm whether or not they're gonna be able to do that.
Get your brain.
Exactly. Either way, these teams have both looked so good tonight, and I know we're in for a good one. But we're going to bar next. That's the assumption with Purdue after they won kitchen, unless they try to bamboozle us and head to reading room. But with bar, like you talked about, that pixel angle is so important, and with teams struggling to push in there, if that Pixel player can be so suffocating, that can really determine if the round is won or lost for the attackers. But you really never know. You can always have some good players coming up white stairs, white window, working their way in from new balc to find some good impact frags. At the end of the day, it really comes up to those frags on that site potentially, as well as the vertical play we talked about before. A pulse scanner from below can make or break a round. I watched a match where it was really going the attacker's favor. All of a sudden, a double kill comes out from a brilliant pulse from below. And just like that, the attackers stopped in their tracks and they had nowhere to go.
Now, vertical pressure works both ways. If you remember, before we entered into Utility Consumption Simulator, it was Information Denial Simulator. That was the Mute and Mozzie combinations. But how would you elect to push basically bar? Well, you would do white stairs executes, and you would bring your buck. You would have that skeleton key chime. You would destroy everything over by the C boxes or the C bars. That's going to force away your Aldo wielding Maestro to a completely different location. Now that you have Cocktail under your control, you just push up white stairs. Now you have to have somebody on the AC unit outside to facilitate that to deal with lumber. But as soon as that's taken care of, you can just waltz up the white stairs. You couple that with somebody on the piano windows. There goes Pixel Spot, and you can start to go for your execute. That has fallen out of favor. One, because Buck doesn't have his frag grenades, and two, because that push has you go up a white staircase, which is a fatal funnel. But we've seen attacking rosters actually catch teams off guard utilizing that. So that's a potential avenue both attacking teams can do, but they're going to have to synergize perfectly if they want to do that.
Yep, and we're going to get into round number 2, hopefully sometime soon. We really don't have an ETA quite yet. I don't know if someone lost power or someone lost internet completely, but obviously we hope that player is all good and getting that set up. But Chief, clearly the knowledge you have about this game is just incredible. Obviously, you definitely surpassed my own. So I'm learning from you here, and it's absolutely great. I love to hear about the fatal funnel. That's a great phrase for that. I'm going to use that one for sure. Hope you don't mind me if I take that one. But yeah, man, this has been great.
Far too many times playing this game, IGLing, and there's a reason I'm now a caster. I went from IGLing to coaching, and now I'm casting. So I won't let what happened to my aim along the 5 years that this game was around. I can't compete with these, young kids that are QE spamming me with Ash across the map, and they just melt my head. Like, I died from an elbow. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
So we're relegated to the casting bit. I think that happens to all players down the road.
Yeah, that I definitely prefer to be here.
I do too.
Play with my 5 men here and there, and we work our way just maybe into plat, but not really. We try our best sometimes, but just letting those players who are on the competitive teams of their own just carry me to victory. That's good enough for me. I don't need to be fragging. I can just play support, do my thing, and that's why I always love to touch on how important the support players are and the anchors are, because that's where I usually find myself when I'm on a 5-man.
Right. The lifespan of like a player is you start on entry and you go all the way down to the support role. Troy Canadian from SSG, perfect example of that. He started off on entry and now he's the thermite main, doing nothing but thermiting and opening up things. And he IGLs. Now, actually, I want to touch on something. Now that we're on the conversation of IGLs, I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what an IGL is supposed to do. A lot of people think IGLs are just there to make shot calls before the round, during the round, and after the round. But honestly, what does IGL stand for? In-game leader. That's the most important thing. The IGL has to be not only the calm voice, but they have to lead the roster. Now, a coach can do that as well, but IGLs, you should always be the leader. You should be orchestrating your team, calming them down, all being facilitated by your strats, but you always have to be that leader figure.
You're absolutely right, and it's great to see some young players at the collegiate level stepping up to that role, because not only is it a great experience in the Siege game, but it's great as you go forward and learning how to take leadership in certain positions. It's really great, and we are now finally all set up in the lobby. Both teams believe they just gave the ready to go, so we are gonna get into it. We're sending it right in, Chief. We've done a stellar job of playing our time here,
That's the most important thing to do with your casters. Sometimes things don't go your way. The lobby says, no, you're not going to be allowed to connect to us, so kick you on out. You have to stall some time, have some fun. Reminisce on the good old days back when people were actually good at the game. But for the time being, what's going to happen in round number 2? Who's going to be good in this round? How will pop flashes even be a thing? We're going to have to find out, but I will promise you this. Pixel, that's going to be the apex point.
Absolutely, and there are so many different ways we see players choose to play Pixel. Sometimes you'll throw an impact grenade or whip out a shotgun and wreck that whole thing in the corner to get a better position, but sometimes players will just melee the bench, put their deployable shield down and anchor it that way. Often, but not always. You'll see even a castle play just sneaking into the meta here and there, and maybe you barricade that wall to White Hall to give that player, free roam of that corner and let them not have to worry about that back angle. But if you put somebody on planks, you put them watching top of White Stairs, you put them watching White Window, and at the end of the day, that player, it's usually a Wamai, will always be safe there.
Safe for the time being, but there are very creative ways of dealing with the pixel. Now, you can actually bank a frag grenade over from White Quarter Window if you have the right angle. Well, not necessarily. It has to roll there, so you have to cook it properly. That's an avenue of dealing with pixel, and also a lot of teams, especially lower T3 and T4 teams, put their shield a little bit too far back, which means you can challenge it all the way from the east side of the map on the AC unit. And another thing a lot of teams make a mistake of is they leave a ginormous gap between the deployable shield and the door frame over here. So basically you have to put your deployable shield almost in the middle, skewed just a little bit to the right. Maybe that's the right position. It's hard to tell from the aerial view, but you have to cut the line of sight all the way from cigar shop to that door, because if it's basically a giant hole, the attackers are going to punish you.
And I love what we see from Purdue here right now. They're going to open the bathroom wall and allow that kind of to act as a doorway, and they're going to plant a deployable shield right in the middle of it. So now you have double the deployable shields to worry about here, and this is going to be a massive pain for the attackers to deal with this. They might be in a position actually where one frag grenade perfectly placed could take out both, which is something that would really be unfortunate for the Purdue defense here. But right now, they're just vibing. They're just hanging out. Mila doing the usual thing, prepping this angle, and got to be aware of that that rappel on that window there. And we're going to see how the attackers are going to choose to mount this one as we get into the beginning of the first minute.
Pixel is going to be, once again, that apex point for the attackers. They're going to have to orchestrate a strategy to actively deal with this deployable shield, those ADSs, and my pancakes. Now, the attacking units of KSU are in a position to deal with that, especially with that AC unit repel that's currently taking place. A little bit of pre-fire is going to telegraph that the attackers want to get aggressive there, and Wamai is going to take a little bit of damage from some explosive utility, but he's going to be forced to rotate away, and now it is going to be a deployable shield all the way in toilets, and hopefully the members of KSU learned what I said. Pop flash the couch, thus pop flash the player behind that shield. His screen will turn into some milky white goodness, and it'll be an absolute free kill for KSU.
I mean, we still have so much time in the middle of this rehost that maybe they had time to look up a quick YouTube video. Maybe they could learn how to get that flash going. But in this one, they just removed that pixel shield and now have to worry about the bathroom one. And Mila just going to be the deployable shield lord of this piano defense. And the attackers have an entirely another shield to worry about. Now, that has got to be annoying, but they are going to do their best here. The flash is coming out, just like you said, while Mango and Stepbro are going to be pressuring from New Balk. Mila now completely rotating out and going to go play over by planks, and now it's Providence, another deployable shield. That's going to be a Goyo in the freezer. You gotta love all the deployable shields you're seeing, but if you're the attack, you gotta be like, where the heck are all these shields coming from, and how do we have enough utility to deal with them?
Well, my friends, deployable shields grow in your pocket just like lint. You just rip them on out, and you just place them on the deck, and that is a free mirror window for you to work with. But how will the attackers of KSU be able to break down these hard points? Well, it's going to be Mango. He's going to start to walk his way all the way through you. He knows Smoke's back his turn. That's going to be a free kill. The ult is just a little bit too late to get the kill, and it's going to be the rappel on in from Smack, as KSU is going to like the entire scoreboard sky high. Purdue was playing the time perfectly, but the members of their team is crumbling before them. Poor Wamai, stuck in a 1v4. He hears the ball's on in, looking the wrong way. He has no IDs in a crossfire. All the attackers are going to pounce on his position. It's going to be a free kill for McCool. KSU, they play the clock. They walk past the playable shields and win the round.
Brilliant take from KSU. Despite the defense perfectly playing time and playing that to the last closing seconds of that round, KSU just didn't care. We had Mango just blitz on into sight, even though it was Ash and not a blitz. I mean, that's what Ash mains do. They run into sight and they pop some heads, and that's exactly what we saw Mango do there. Only able to get one before she was traded off, but unbelievably well executed push. and that's going to win them the round. Once again, we saw Stepbro get caught in the freezer, a similar position we've seen him in before. One of the most popular clips in the CR6 clip directory right now is a clip of Stepbro getting caught in a rotate in freezer, and a lot of people like that one. And right now he was caught out in that position again, but it didn't matter for him. The rest of his team were there to support him, and Purdue, unfortunately for them, were not able to succeed on one of the strongest defensive sites on this map.
Well, I love how human minds work, right? They love when people fail, not when they succeed. So when they're stuck on a rotate, that's the most important clip. But why aren't these miraculous aces or these wonderfully mechanically gifted players getting a little bit more love? Honestly, the world may never know, but the one thing that we can guarantee, and the one thing that we will know, there's going to be a deployable shielded pixel. And there it goes. It's now put on the deck. It's going to be Wamai relegated to that position. But are there any more deployable shields? Well, technically yes, and technically no, since Goyo shields are super shields, since they have an explosive ending to the end, and it might not be a 5 shield meta, it's going to be a 4.
What's interesting to me here is we're not seeing any hard breach denial from Purdue. And now, of course, you're prioritizing the deployable shields. But with a Thatcher ban on the table, you can't underestimate the value of simply putting a mute jammer or putting an electro claw or putting some bandit batteries on that piano wall that goes to red stairs. I mean, sealing that wall off and holding it to later, forcing the attackers to enter on the second floor to get those from below can be a huge saving of time. I know it's a lot of teams like to bring different things, but in my experience, you often see that hard breach denial because it can be so suffocating, especially when it comes to those last second pushes.
Well, the attackers are a little bit slow on their execute. They were also slow in round number 2, and they're still able to win. But the most important thing, with 40 seconds spent in the round, you have to have boots on the ground, which basically means you're dropping through that top hatch at 2 minutes and 20. Because if you don't, those 20 seconds are going to start to compound, and they're going to really hinder the attackers in the long run. But again, they're able to win round number 2 with the exact same pacing, so we might be able to overskip that. Look, Mango once again are going to attempt to melee this hole over here in shops. It almost found a kill on Smoke because Smoke was flirting with death last time, but hopefully they're able to make that adaptation. And speaking of adaptations, there currently isn't a deployable shield in Barbat.
But here we are with 1:20 to go and everyone's still alive. Mango now strongly contesting the Pixel player, supported by a sledge and the thermite in the breach. They're doing their best to take piano control, but Mila and Hangman are trying to delay as much as they can. Ash gonna get very aggressive, but not able to find one right now. Mila gonna be full flash, but will play his life right now and will be okay. Another magnet tossed down, prevent that utility from being used and those shields from being burned. And with 50 seconds remaining, this is very effective from Purdue, but Mila will be dropped. But this time, Hangman will get the refrag, or at least the down onto Mango, and Smack caught in a position he doesn't want to be. A double kill from the C4 from Hangman, and that will put KSU in a very, very tough spot. The Toxic Babe finishing off Smack, and it's up to Stepbro and Stakes. Left to find 4, now left to find 3 as Stepbro gets the headshot onto Hangman over in Pixel as he rotated to find the position that Mila sorely left. But Stakes now going to continue to look for these angles onto the freezer, but the defenders playing extremely passive, knowing they have all the time in the world. But the attackers, with 10 seconds left, they gotta make something happen. Providence will find one onto Stepbro. There it goes, but Stakes will actually get a double kill, turn it into a 1v1 in the last moment, with the SMG-11 in hand. Is gonna push the rotate, but does not have enough time, got caught on the bar, and there it goes. Goose will find him and solidify the bar cocktail defense for Purdue.
Well, you said they had all the time in the world, but were they prepared for all the time when that gun goes aggressive? But the thing is, I think they were prepared because the all the wide swings, it was a nice lineup and the easiest kill for Sledge, as you only need 1 bullet to kill 2 individuals. It took the defensive team 1 round to figure out their mistakes on Bar Cocktail, and then they eventually end up winning it. Once again, time was the bane of both of these rosters, but the bane tends to go in favor of the attacker teams. Thus, KSU was unable to win it. Again, we're talking about slow executes. You have to have boots on the ground in the first 2 minutes and 20 seconds. We didn't see that from KSU. They had boots on the ground as soon as that 60 market concluded.
And here we are in round number 4. It's 2-1 in a position that Purdue is very familiar with. They're up, but they're not at a commanding lead. And what their job is right now is to get as many of these rounds as they can possibly muster, because we've seen how strong KSU can be bringing up a deficit, even if it's going into those last closing rounds in an overtime, as we saw in that last map. But here we are on Kitchen, a site that Purdue just absolutely dominated on last time. Time, as you said, was the sole reason that Purdue, I mean, obviously great plays from them, but it came down to the wire, and KSU couldn't make it happen in those last few seconds. So once again, Purdue trying to delay, because we've seen how flustered KSU can get when they simply run out of time.
Will Purdue elect to do this big bakery extension as well as this VIP extension? The thing is, with bakery extensions, it forces the attackers to either push into you or completely ignore you. And I'm of the school of thought for the latter. Completely ignore the big bakery extension and do a full east execute as well as pushing in for coat check. This way, you cut the bomb site completely in half, and sure, the defenders can own all of the west side of the map. They can have fun over there in Kitchen, but they're going to have to cross into no man's land and thus cross into your 90-degree crossfire, and it doesn't matter how good you are. You should never win the engagement of the player hiding over by coat check or through whiskey bar. That's going to come down to the attackers making the mistake, and you can see the drones of KSU. They're already starting to complete that checklist that is clearing out the 3rd floor as well as the 2nd floor.
But going into this one, the top-down clear is on once again, and Smack actually doing a great job here utilizing the top floor, and that is what was so important. The Nitro Cell came out, but because Smack was on the top floor utilizing that long angle through the hatch, she was able to win the fight. And there goes Smack once again, finding the opening pick onto Poseidon. But this is the same situation. Purdue were in on the first time they defended this site, but it didn't matter because they held strong and they held fast. But here it goes, the push now completely vertical is what's going on from KSU right now as they continue to look for picks, and Purdue running around below trying to avoid getting caught out unaware.
Now here's the problem for KSU. They're going to be pushing into the fixated position of Mela over here on the Wamai, and the utility dump simulator is going to continue to work its way on through, but 2 Wamai pancakes were thrown out when those flashbangs were being sent downrange, which means more utility is going to be shot away, and unfortunately for Wamai, rotating away but shut down from the vertical holes. A huge blunder from the side of Purdue, and this is going to open up the round even more for KSU, as it's effectively a 2v5 because Hangman is currently on his back. He is in a position to be rezzed as he's now picked back up, so we're going to have to put an asterisk in this lobby, drop it down to a footnote as it's a 5v3.
And with Hangman at so low HP, it's not going to be too much of an easy time for him. But Providence trying to get pretty aggressive coming up the white stairs here. A great maneuver from Providence here could really help this round. But with only 1 player up here, and that will be Stakes, he's not going to be able to find too many players. Only the one could be caught unaware. Still just smacking that floor with all power. He's going to be taken out by Providence, and Hangman and Goose just collapsing and finding 2 more. But there we go. Stepbro will get the trade, and now it's a 2v2. Great job from Purdue to equalize. The plant goes down. Could Providence deny it? And there it goes. Goose will swing onto Stepbro to prevent the plant. And that is all they needed to do. You don't have to kill him if you can just play time once again.
That was a terrifying round for both teams, especially for the smoke upstairs, who saw Sophia planting behind the bomb chassis. You can see the animation going down. You can see the player, but maybe that poor smoke missed it in his peripheral vision. And fortunately for him, Jaeger of Goose had that long angle, was able to rotate around and actually punish Sophia. And as you're highlighting, you don't actually need the kill. You just need to stop the plant by any means necessary. Downing the player is a perfect way of doing it. And look at this. The attackers are so much closer to winning these rounds. They have done just about everything right. They're just making very small mistakes when it comes to their execute.
And this is such a high-class game we're seeing from both of these teams that those very, very small mistakes actually really matter in this one. Often, you know, this is a very good collegiate match. I've casted quite a few collegiate matches, and as far as this one goes, I am very impressed with both teams and what they've been able to put up tonight. It's just been so clean from both teams and how they've conducted everything about their attack and their defense. But here we are onto Reading Room, the tertiary site, and vertical play is so important here, just like on the kitchen as we stressed it before. But often we will see the majority of the defense actually playing upstairs. Often they'll allocate the minimum 2, but often 3 players to hold upstairs, because if you can't get this top floor control as an attacker, you cannot get a plant onto site, because pretty much the entire roof of both sites, except for dining room in certain points, is soft destructible. And so the defenders can just make some holes, look straight down, and just dome you while you're getting a plant down. So top floor control is a necessity here.
And the thing to keep in mind is holes work both ways. The defenders can make holes vertically, the attackers can make holes vertically, and the thing is, both of those rosters are capable of rotating around, changing up their locations, and potentially utilizing the opposing team's soft destruction. And the same thing can be said here. We're going to be going over to the tertiary bomb site for most teams, which is Reading Room. And we're highlighting what a stage roam was, but we'll re-highlight that once again. That is putting some individual over by piano for the first 10 seconds of the round, sniping away one drone, which is 10% of the attacker's drone economy, and then falling back to Pixel, sniping away another drone, walking all the way to white quarter, and so on and so forth, until you have no other option of just retreating on down. But you have to be very careful with that macro strategy, because if you have your back against the wall, the attackers will know you have one option, and that's getting aggressive. And here comes an aggressive play. Actually going to try to punish the player sitting behind this deployable shield, but they have no idea that there's so many Wamai pancakes. The flash dump is going to continue to work its way on through. Mango's going to think just a little bit better about this scenario and utilize some of that drone economy. Try to confirm the location of the player and see if they rotated away. Well, they're going to learn that decision the hard way. But the kills roll in for both of these rosters back to an 8-man lobby. But Goose on the flank up the white stairs is going to put the advantage once again in favor of Purdue.
And now it is a 4v3, and Goose gonna find another, securing a double kill on the round, and there's the triple kill as he drops stakes as well. He's got one more to find if he's got the aim, and we know he does. McCool gonna challenge onto it, but this time Goose will fall. But now the castle, that's gonna be Providence coming up and taking his place. Purdue's gotta be careful here. They've tossed a round like this in the past. You know, they're just throwing their players in a position they don't need to be. But right now it doesn't seem to matter. McCool is caught completely alone, and is going to have to make a big adjustment here if he wants to have any shot. He's going to have to deal with about 300 HP, and he is about a measly 65. So he's got quite a long way to go, but he will take out Hangman. Don't have to worry about the HP when you can just boop him in the head. That's what McCool's thinking, but he will be dropped to about 25 for his troubles. And now Providence on the bottom of white stairs should be aware of the player sneaking up into dining. He will be, and he will take him out. And just like that, Purdue win round number 5 and take us to a 4-1 scoreline on this first half.
I have to be critical of KSU. Something I talk about very frequently is the importance of flank drones. Even if you haven't cleared all of Cocktail, you still have to have a flank drone buried somewhere over on white stairs. Even if it's out in the middle of the open and it gets destroyed, that is still enough information, because you know that there's somebody at least thinking about going up white stairs. That was a critical step that KSU missed, and that just allowed basically everybody for Purdue to continue to walk their way up those white stairs and walk their way into some free kills. I do have to be just a little bit critical of Purdue's stage roam. They're far too aggressive, and we're highlighting when you have your back against the wall, the attackers are able of reading in. You have one option. That's getting aggressive. Now, sure, Purdue ended up winning those engagements, but you can't always rely on that. You have to rely on strategy first, mechanical skill second.
But as this is, you know, collegiate level, we see some players just can absolutely excel with those mechanical skills. But like you said, you cannot rely on them. First and foremost comes strategy. And if you don't have that, you're not going to have much against such a coordinated attacking force that KSU has brought to the table here. But we're headed back to Bar and Cocktail. KSU had an unbelievably strong attack the first time they took this site, and then Purdue in a pretty strong advantage. The last time they had this site was a 3 versus 1, and it came down to a 1v1 in the end, a near throw situation with a great comeback almost from one of their players. I believe it was Stepbro possibly in that clutch situation, but they were able to take that round. So it's a 1-1 scoreline on this site specifically, and I'm interested to see what both teams are going to learn from their mistakes, because that is so important at this level to learn how you can change up based on what the opponents are doing.
Honestly, that's probably the most important life advice you can ever have. Learn from your mistakes. It doesn't matter if it's Rainbow Six Siege, your dating life, your college life. You should always learn from your mistakes. And the faster
don't remind
you learn,
me,
don't remind me. Yeah, college was a while ago, so I had learned plenty of those. But thankfully, you get to move on when you actually become an adult and graduate from school with your boring job. But let's actually dive back into this round. Vertical destruction from a completely different angle. That's going to be the name of the game for KSU, as we're going to be sending some of those ag charges down range from that skylight, trying to deal with this Maestro Evil Eye. Consider it now dealt with. That is one more avenue for the attackers to move on through. A skylight drop is extremely dangerous, and it's still more advantageous to deal with these darn deployable shields. Mango's going to do that, and he's going to remove the head of Mila.
And Mila falling there, going to be a problem for Purdue, as that is the key pixel player, but Hangman is still there, and so is Goose, and he's going to come up to support that position. So still, with control of Piano, the attackers have a lot of work to do. We do see Stakes working his way down below, trying to come around from the other side, maybe work his way up White Stairs, because that could be a powerful flank position. But right now, Cigar is the name of the game, as 3 of the players on the attack have now worked themselves up in there and could be directly pressuring on to the bar site and not really worry about Piano anymore. This would be an interesting strategy here for sure. Providence will be down to just about a little HP as McCool and the boys swing into sight and get a lot of pressure going. Mango into Freezer will find another onto Providence. Hangman and Goose, though, trade that out. But an angle from the Freezer, and Mango will get a headshot onto Hangman, completely unaware of the player in Freezer. I'm not sure the calls didn't come out early enough, but that doesn't matter as Goose will drop Mango down but not out. Stage will go to Ash, but there we go. Goose will find another, and Goose with the clutch. The 1 versus 3. What a play from the Jaeger.
This was a round that KSU should have won. There was blunders on everybody's side. All 10 players were making mistakes. And I always say the team that makes the least amount of mistakes is the team that tends to win rounds. But it's really hard to point to say one individual, like, you made more mistakes than them. And I guess if I have to be very critical, KSU with their man advantage, they didn't follow the law of 1vx's, which means when you find yourself in a 1vx, you always have to challenge with that 1vx. Instead, KSU presented themselves with 3 1v1 exchanges, and Jaeger was just basically able to win those exchanges because there is no crossfire whatsoever. Those are mistakes that you're not allowed to make. 4-2 splits are very common. Round number 6 should have delivered us to a 4-2 split, but instead, it is Purdue finding themselves 5-1.
And that could be the round that KSU look back on after tonight and go, wow, we really should have won that one. It could have gone completely differently, but we're not going to count them out yet because we've been in this exact position. We've said how tough it's going to be for KSU, and they've just made us look foolish. They've come back and with absolute vengeance and precision. I got a comment on the alibi pick. Stakes going with alibi. Not something you always see here. Chief, you definitely have more experience in this regard. Have you ever seen an alibi on this site?
Not on this side. I've seen it when you play actually Reading Room. So there's a couple ways of utilizing alibi, and I'm in the school of thought where you put alibis basically in positions where you force an attacker to pre-fire. One of those scenarios is over by Pixel. You always have to actively challenge this position, because if you don't, the opportunity cost is somebody actually challenging from that door frame, which is why you always shoot. You try to force the defense to recoil just a little bit. And you can actually see that from the strategy of where those alibis are being placed. Now, I probably wouldn't put it over by couches unless you've actually opened up the toilets upstairs, which I didn't see if they did. Now, if they did, that's the win in my book. Again, you have to force the attacker to free fire.
I also love that Goose is bringing out the Ying. Now, Ying, you don't always see her, but when you do, she can be so powerful, especially to do exactly what I believe we're going to see the Candelas utilized for, and that's going to be to get this player out of Pixel. That's exactly why you said we'll see the Warden sometimes, because if you just pummel enough flashes and enough smokes and enough candelas down at this player, there just aren't simply enough ADSs and Wamai magnets to remove them all, and that's going to force that position. That's going to be Stepbro. He's going to be stuck in the pixel position, and that could be a problem if those candelas come out at an appropriate time. But here we are, in about a minute 40 remaining. It's going to be up for these attackers to really get some pressure going. They haven't even repelled into sight. They have not dropped the hatch. So in my book, they're a bit late to get started for this one, but they're definitely going to be looking to get this execute going as we near minute 30.
And you can see those alibi prismas are set up in positions where it's going to force the attackers to pre-fire. That pre-fire is for the rotation between barback as well as toilets. So that's going to be a highway for most defenders because they want to challenge actively through pixel. But the thing is, the way they've opened up that wall, it's not going to be the avenue that most teams actually expect. And they haven't even made the rotate whatsoever. It's just the strategy becomes more and more complexing throughout this development. And how will Purdue be able to break it down? Well, you can see the forest pre-fires. Here's another perfect example. Try to pre-fire mini rotate. That's always the name of the game. And you can see more of the utility working in favor of KSU.
But here we are with 50 seconds left, and the push is going to come out. They really efficiently removed the pixel player after getting such late pressure into Cigar. Doesn't seem to matter, though, for Purdue. They're just going to try to send it into bar as soon as they identify the positions of the players. McCool here prone very far back in Cocktail. He'll have a great angle by the feet of the alibi hologram. That could be a problem, especially if those players, like you said, are going to have to pre-fire that hologram. But a pre-fire will come out from Smack onto the balcony, and that's going to be Hangman dropped from Newbal. And there it goes. Stepbro will get a double kill, and Hangman will, in fact, get revived or revive himself with that withstand ability. So Stepbro finding the double, and that's going to be a problem. As his attack comes in, the Ying just absolutely sends it into Freezer, but a beautiful collapse from the defense. And that is going to be a flawless round with all the defenders remaining alive. Brilliant work from KSU.
What on earth happened, Purdue? What was your strategy? Like, I get the full send YOLO rush, but you had more time to work with. You could have been a lot more strategic. But again, sometimes you just want to send it. And I totally get that mentality. But sadly, that was not the correct mentality to have here. And clearly it wasn't, because they got shut down for free. Sometimes you just have to play Utility Consumption Simulator. You have no way of working around it. Now, if you do want to work around it, you do have some operators in play. We've been talking a lot about Dark Zero, so you can bring the Blitz and full send that operator and just freight train your way into Pixel, or you could probably be a little bit more sensible and bring the Monty, but nonetheless, you're still accomplishing our goal of pushing that Pixel player back without actually utilizing any utility. But Purdue just went for the full send with utility on the board, and, well, they got shut down in a flawless round.
And we're heading to the first floor here. We're heading to kitchen, and this is the first time we'll see KSU on this defense. This was Purdue's, I think, their #1 choice of site. They came here the most and were successful the most. But it's up to KSU. It's their turn to challenge this, and we do see the Kaid with those Electro Claws will be electrifying, I believe, probably the wall into bakery and maybe the hatch upstairs in dining room if they're feeling so inclined, or could use both on this bakery wall to prevent this wall from being breached whatsoever. But we get into this one, checking out the lineups at both of the teams. We will see the Ying once again, and that's going to be Goose taking up the Ying role this time, as Providence will now be opting, or I believe it was Poseidon on the Ying before, and it will be Poseidon will be taking up the role of the Sledge this time.
We're going to have to see how Purdue elects to take this. They have some of the operators do vertical destruction, but they really want to play aggressive with Ying. And I'm all in favor of Ying, but you have to do your due diligence. Far too many attacking rosters just say, Ying goes flash, boom, 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 execute. That's not the mentality to have. Well, that probably is, as Manuela is going to walk her way on through. That's going to be Smack now shut on down. But where on earth did this casualty happen? Oh no, it was an ill-advised rotate coming up the white stairs. Now, unfortunately for the side of KSU, all those, well, ADSs have been put throughout the map, so it's not going to be a huge casualty other than the 416 being shut down.
And the vertical angles coming out as expected. The Sledge, breaching hammer in hand, gonna Swiss cheese the ceiling, but Stakes will shut that down right away. Good angle from him from prep, and now he'll retreat over into bakery, supported by that'll be Mango over in wedding right now. But the vertical play is going to continue to come out, and Mila will take the place of her fallen brother of Sledge. And it's going to be time to get this vertical pressure going. We're down to 1:30, so it's not too bad so far as attacking pressure goes. And the drone's going to suss the Kaid out of Bakery and get this pressure mounting. As it appears for more of a Bakery side take, Mango goes for a very aggressive push out of the small Bakery window, but Providence just says, what the heck are you doing? Get out of here, and shuts it down right away, and taking us to a 4v3. So definitely in Purdue's favor here, but the attacking pressure definitely needs to start mounting as we get into about a minute remaining.
The thing is, has the attackers done their due diligence with their vertical destruction? Sludge is now dead. So is there enough holes in the floor for the attackers to push away the defenders? And given the fact that Wamai is currently actively playing square, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case for the time being, because you can throw a grenade down that vicinity and shut them on down. There are some holes, but only 3 of them. That's not going to be enough to actually deal with this, and the attackers are really perplexed by this. Kaid, you can destroy that with frag grenades. But what's the problem? Poseidon died early on, which means that Kaid is going to be around for the remainder 30 seconds. Step Bro is going to change his location, and that's going to deliver himself to a free kill as more members of the attacking roster, Purdue, might be delivering themselves to their own death and destruction. It's 3 men alive for each roster, but they're going to have to find kills. Whatever team gets the most frags is going to be the team that's most successful. Bro is going to find another one, unable to land the third as the steamroll on through for Purdue, but they're going to fall in the process and fall into their 6-foot graves. They will, as KSU is going to win round number 8.
Unbelievably well done from KSU. They were so patient and so passive when it came down to that closing 30 seconds and that push from Purdue. But I gotta say, Chief, I mean, that Purdue push just came out too late. They didn't have the intel. They tried to force an early plant, the Habana. That was, I believe that was Providence going for that early plant, and it didn't work out whatsoever. She got shut down. No, she found Step Bro, but at the end of the day, she had to do the rest of the work on her own because her entire team walked into that, what did you say, fatal funnel, I believe is what you called it earlier. Yep. And it was really, really problematic. That push did not work the entire time.
That's the thing, right? The attackers are relying far too much on Ying. Ying's a great operator. She has a great utility. You just have to be able to utilize her properly. And I even saw E United back in stage 1, where they're like, hey, we have Ying on the board. We may as well bring her every single round, not deal with utility consumption simulator, and just throw everything at the kitchen sink at the defenders. Eventually something will stick, but if you use enough Windex on the wall, things are going to start to walk its way down and roll off the wall. So that's a strategy you can't fully rely on. Learn from E United. They have gone away from that strategy for a particular reason, because it's far too inconsistent. Now you can utilize it once again to rush these east windows, but make sure you've done your due diligence. Right now, Purdue has not done their due diligence at all with Ying.
And we're getting into this one. It's going to be reading this time, and as we talked about before, it's the vertical play, and pretty much all of the fighting came out on the top floor when we saw Purdue doing the defense here, so I would not be surprised if we see something very similar. It's only the Kaid and the Mute left on the site proper, and the rest of the team will be upstairs contending with the vertical play and all these windows to worry about. We don't see the pixel angle being played. Sometimes you will see that even when you're playing reading room, and it's just going to be a hold of bar and cocktail if possible, because any sort of hold will secure the top floor and will allow them to at least delay the KSU push, and we've seen them struggle with the time delays in the past. They will have a lot of drops, ability to rotate back to site when needed, so it'll all be about, can the defenders rotate at the proper time? You know, do they have that intel where the attackers are coming from and to know when it is safe to remove? And we actually do see the Ash. That'll be Mila dropping down Red Hatch early on, and just as we talked about Stakes, going to safely rotate below and take a more passive position and rotate back to site.
The tandem back and forth between these two rosters is incredible. Stakes was trying to work his way up red stairs, just making a little bit too much noise and alerting himself to the members of Purdue that there might be a sneaky beaky boy working his way up that staircase. Vertical destruction is slowly going to work their way in for the attackers. The problem is they don't have an understanding that the entire cocktail side has been relinquished. They haven't droned it out because the mute jammers being a huge bane and a thorn in the side of Purdue. They need to identify this ASAP. They need to break down this castle barricade and continue to rely on that vertical destruction. It's coming out far too late, and they need to start swinging that sledgehammer now.
Look at them, they're still worried about this position. Finally, Hangman will remove any sort of doubt that there's a player here, but they wasted a lot of time and a lot of utility. They even used that Ash breaching charge to remove the deployable shield that nobody was playing behind. A simple drone toss, and they've got quite a few in pocket, would have been enough to determine that there was no player there. Stepbro was on that shield earlier, but rotated down to the bottom of white stairs here to play a bit more passive, and they're playing time, and it is working so well. KSU are just delaying because they know that Purdue have struggled with this in the past, and just in the last few rounds, Purdue were not able to mount the efficient attack that they needed to make it happen. We're going to see a reading take here as a swing comes in from the doorway, and Hangman will pick one up onto Smack, and the plant will go down from Providence in the default spot. We're going to have Mango try to go for a flank, but he just gets sandwiched and taken down by Goose. The Candelas go off to delay and flash all the defenders, and Stepbro gets a double, but Mila and Providence with the follow-up. So it's up to Stakes in a 1v3, and he'll have to find many. 30 seconds remaining, and the name of the game is retake, but he has his work cut out for him. There'll be a player in pillars. Can he find him? No. Providence will flick onto his head, remove the head of Stakes, and take Purdue's first attacking win.
So Purdue is able to deliver themselves to once again match point, series point. They've been here before. They're relying very heavily on this Ying, and it finally paid off for them over on the tertiary bomb site. And I actually do enjoy the flexibility that they're trying to utilize Ying with. She's not only an explosive entry, but a pseudo hard breacher, since she is bringing out that pocket thermite charge. Now, most teams elect to bring smoke grenades because you can basically cut off the rotations and lines of sight for the defenders. And honestly, given how aggressive they're playing Ying, I would actually prefer them to bring the smoke grenades, shut down those power positions, and then go for the full tilt execute. But nonetheless, they're able to finally win a round. They are, again, one round away from achieving their goal and moving on to the round of 8.
And just like you said, it's match point. And we have seen Purdue struggle when it comes down to these intense moments like this, but they're going to do their best to avoid that. And that's why we're going to see the Ying is actually no longer going to be a factor. Just like you said, they're learning from those mistakes. And hopefully that is going to be enough to give them the edge here, is what they are thinking and what the fans of Purdue are so desperately hoping for at this point. They've seen their team struggle a lot more than they've wanted to. But right now, with an absolute advantage, 3 rounds up, it's going to be KSU. They're going to have to put on a show. Stakes is going to have to put on a show. Smacks is going to have to get some impact frags when it matters. And they're going to have to step up into a right position.
We're going to have to see what adaptations they make, and that's going to be the big question right now. Adaptations have to be made on the fly. It's going to be stemming from their IGL, identifying the locations of these deployable shields, and particularly those ADSs and Wamai pancakes. It is a very similar hold, and just judging by the placement of this shield, it looks like it's a perfect placement. It looks like it's cutting off that nice line of sight. Actually, I'm trying to draw a line vector in my mind. I believe from shots you can now challenge that door frame. So we have to watch out for that position, because if the player behind Pixel Shield realizes that his life is forfeit, he can rotate away. And indeed, it looks like he'd have a line vector there. So a few HP points might be lost as you rotate through that door frame.
And this is very similar to what we saw from Purdue before, but they were unable to get the push that they needed, and they got flustered in the last few seconds, and the push just got a bit weird, a bit aggressive, and they sent it into freezer. They're going to be looking to do this a bit more controlled. That's why we don't see the Ying, and they're going to take their time and do this a bit more methodically. The flashes come out, but Stepbro wisely backing off that pixel angle for the time being. Not going to contest it too hard. Mango just going to be vibing over on the cocktail side, just waiting for his moment to come into play. He's got that Alda and is a perfect anchor for any situation, and he'll be able to take out the defenders in those moments. But here we are, and Goose now assisting to open the wall into Piano with that hard breach gadget that Capitao now has. We love that change with that addition of that hard breach. But with a minute 20 remaining, it's time for the attackers to build this pressure again. We do not want to see them struggle the way they saw before.
Honestly, quick timeout. The hard breach on Capitao is an absolute nerf to him. He needs his flashbangs, but no more theory crafting. You guys want one thing. You want to see your favorite team deliver themselves to victory. And here in round number 10, Purdue could be 60 seconds away from achieving that goal. It is an equal man lobby with 10 members alive and active. Fire bolts are going to go all the way through Freezer, but fortunately for the members of KSU, there is currently nobody over there. It is going to be a 20-second meta, though. Purdue is going to walk through these fatal funnels, and it's going to be on Purdue to win these engagements and be prepared. But oh no! Purdue is putting the bomb down. Where's the answer back whatsoever from KSU? The bomb confirmed on the deck with 10 members alive. It is going to be absolute chaos in this lobby. Starting off with Poseidon, getting a kill, make that 2, as McCool can also find himself in that engagement. Hangman's going to be flirting with death outside, but somehow it is going to be KSU winning that engagement. It's going to be a short-lived victory. This is a 1v3 with a guaranteed 22 seconds left from the clock. Smack's going to have to find his kill, but he's unable to do. It is Smack losing engagement. It is going to be Purdue moving themselves over to the best of 8.
What a match tonight, Chief. This was such an incredible round, especially, and Purdue with a sneaky little plant, and that silent plant, as Stakes is going to call out in chat. I mean, that is all they needed. In that retake situation, they had the advantage, and that was all. I mean, Smack tried to bring it back the best he could, but in the end, he could not bring it back. Unbelievably well done from Purdue, and this time, they were not going to relinquish that lead that they had worked so hard to establish.
People always think default plant is right by the pillars or B number 1. That's where everybody wants to plant. But why don't people plant more U-bars? Or in this case, why don't people plant trash? Well, there you go. A perfect showing of why you plant trash. Because when you have the crossfires established, you're going to force the defenders to either walk out of their hidey holes into your engagements or try to nitro cell from way, way deep. None of those. You're going to force the defenders to either walk out of their hidey holes in the beginning of the round, setting up their crossfires.
And I really like what Purdue adjusted there. Last time, Smack on the Jaeger, I believe, was able to find an angle onto the new balk from Pillars area. But this time, Purdue did not expose themselves to that angle. A very wise decision from them. And as such, they were able to take that round with relative ease. It came down to the wire, but Smack wasn't able to pull it back. I mean, we've seen 3 fantastic maps tonight, Chief. And I'm hoping we're going to hope to get an interview with one of the players of Purdue here. And first of all, congratulate him on his victory. But there's one thing we saw from Purdue tonight. It's that they were resilient. They persevered. And even when they fell down in some really tough moments and they let KSU sneak in, and especially on Clubhouse, they were able to close it out at the end of the day.
And that's going to deliver us over to our best of 8. But our interview has been set up. So let's chat to the gentleman that won it for his team, Mr. Poseidon. Welcome, my friend. Congrats on elevating yourself to the best of 8.
Yeah, it was a really rough game against KSU. They really put up a challenge for us, especially on that second map.
And I got a question for you. I got to talk about how you came into Cafe. So it was 6-4 in overtime. It was 6-4 match point on Clubhouse. You were up. You had 2 match points, and you were going to win. But you let KSU sneak in the door. They got 4 rounds back to back. How do you take your team through, the break in between maps and refocus and come out so strong like you did on Cafe?
I mean, we always pride ourselves as a pretty structured team, and knowing our mistakes, our IGL is really good about this, recognizing our mistakes and our Clubhouse mistakes. We were able to look at those mistakes and say, hey, we're not actually throwing that hard. It's just that we were making small mistakes here and there. And if we fix those mistakes, we can definitely take them in Cafe and win the match.
Chief?
Now, I have to ask, you're bringing out Ying the entire time. What was the idea behind that? Were you trying to basically be oppressive to the defenders, push them away? You're also utilizing her as a pseudo hard breach. So what was the macro strategy behind that?
We knew Ace was banned. Ace is an operator that we play somewhat frequently. Well, it's not like a crutch, but we play it somewhat frequently. And knowing that he's banned, we needed an operator that was aggressive enough so that we could take map control as well as give us the secondary hard breach, which was something that we really needed to get red wall open. So we still have enough Habana pellets to open up angles into cocktail and all that. So that's why you brought the Ying, and also because our players are comfortable on it, as well as it could burn utility pretty well. So that's our rationale behind bringing Ying, and it did work out pretty well for us so far.
Now, also, when you were on defense, especially upstairs in bar, you're bringing out 4 deployable shields. Were you trying to participate in utility consumption similar with that?
Oh yeah, we are definitely a very much utility based team. So that's how I think we took the first map quite easily. Is that we just used a lot of utility, a lot of nades. We just made sure everyone burned their ADSs with flashes. So utility use is something that we pay a lot of attention to. So that's why we brought a lot of shields, because we were trying to make sure that they use their utility and win our utility game, and then also put gunfight second, because Siege is a game about balancing utility, intel, and gunfight skills.
Perfect. Now, before I let you celebrate with your team today, please shout out your support staff, shout out your uni, give them as much love as they deserve.
Thanks to everybody that watched this game, whether you supported us or not. This has definitely not been the easiest game so far. In fact, this was the first map we dropped in any collegiate league so far, all 3 that we played in. So KSU definitely took us for a run there on those 3 maps. And thanks to our Purdue players that are watching. Also, thanks to our captain. Couldn't do this without him. He is very good at keeping us cohesive as a team and giving us strategies and all that. We really appreciate him. And thanks for your support, and hope we make it further in CR6. And thanks to CR6 as well for being a league that prides itself in integrity, and also being one of the best leagues that manage collegiate esports in general. So thank you guys for that too.
Poseidon, always a pleasure, my friend. Go celebrate with your team. You earned it today. Take care.
Thank you. Good night, you guys.
Good night.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it us for today. But actually, don't go anywhere. We still have one more BO3 to go. So we're going to dive over to a quick 30-minute break. But don't go anywhere. We will be back with you in not too long. Jay Willis, always a pleasure, my friend. But until next time, stay safe, stay well. We'll be back with you in 30 minutes.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in us. They know we'll burn down tonight. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna let it away. Tonight, we're gonna let it away. Tonight, we're gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we're gonna let it away. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know